Glad we got that out of the way. Well, hey, welcome to the show before the show. I'm your host, Patrick Marlette, your local game guy, and today I'm joined by Will.
Sup?
Hello, Will.
Hello,
How?
Patrick.
I was gonna ask how your day was, but I know.
Yeah, I told you.
uh,
Crazy.
fun. Fun? Let's just say fun for the audience's sake. But guys, if you're joining us now, thank you. I hope you didn't get all of your information from other channels that were feeding you the wrong information, because we're going to let you know everything you need to know about Doctor Who today, okay?
From a CDH perspective.
Thank you. Exactly. Yeah, no, none of that casual shit here, okay? Keep your planes chase deck at home.
Except for Friday. Friday we are doing some casual stuff.
Friday we are doing casual stuff. As a matter of fact, I'm going to be playing not this deck. I don't know why I grabbed Timey-Wimey. Whoops. I'm going to be playing this deck. So I actually pulled a version of Missy that I'm excited to have. But yeah, I'll be playing the Masters of Evil list on Friday. So if you're here for Friday Night Magic, I hope you are. It should be a fun time. The last time we played with Pup Stomp MTG, those precons, really fun. Like I had and not just because I won, spoiler alert, but it was like an actually fun time. I love just seeing how they structure these lists and like the thought that went behind the deck construction. I think they were balanced. It's just some players are better than others. And that's why. No, actually, I think I had the best legendary. Let me just say, I think my legendary drawing cards was the best.
We had a legendary that made a 1/1 fairy like maybe 2 times in a rotation. Another legendary that was supposed to draw cards but didn't draw a single card.
Right.
Another legendary that gave roll tokens to everything, and another legendary that gave you +80/+80 that game.
Yeah. I don't know. And draw.
And draw.
Right. And was just like awarding freaking like aura tokens like it was nobody's business. It was so good. I enjoyed that list quite a bit. I know a lot of people wanted to see a CDH version of that deck, but that's neither here nor there. But yeah, we're going to be discussing Doctor Who. Specifically, the run of show today is going to be covering all the singles from the set that we feel you need in Wooburg order. And as we do traditionally with set reviews, although this is sort of non-standard, the Universes Beyond Doctor Who set is the precons. There's 4 of them. I invite you to check those out. This is not sponsored, but you can go to WotC's site. I think they link you to like an affiliate account on Amazon, but however that functions, definitely check out the precons because there's a lot of cool stuff in them. And if you just want to get everything self-enclosed, that's a good way to do it. But they also sell collector boosters where a lot of really cool expanded art variants are, as well as surge foils. I don't know if you've seen those, but in person they look really cool. So it's my first time experiencing surge foils. They've done similar foils before, to my understanding, if not surge foils. But they're really like, it's like a substantial difference when you look at them. I'm just gushing about them because it's my first time seeing them, but I only wish I pulled a foil that I needed. I was like, oh man, really cool to get banished to another universe, surge foiled. Oh, what'd you get?
Banished to another universe, surge foiled. The card I'm going to be giving you.
Oh, wait, it's surge foiled?
I believe it's surge foiled. It may just be regular foiled, but it's oh no, I think it's just regular
That's
foiled.
Okay. That's okay.
But it's still foil banished to another universe.
Well, it's funny because so Will and I cracked like half a box each of the collector boosters, and I'm like, it's an uncommon. Like, I'll pull banish to another universe because I need it for Oswald, obviously. We'll get to the card today. And it was not amongst any of the cards I got. And it's interesting because I forget how it's spaced out in the packs, but you can get surge foils and like surge foils of rares and spots where like commons or uncommons would have won. And I wound up pulling like a ton of surge foils, like really cool ones, a lot of lands, which I feel like are probably worth something in a trade, but nothing that I needed specifically, sadly. So it is what it is. But Will's actually going to be constructing a deck from this set, if I'm not mistaken. We have a poll ongoing that I'll encourage you to check out in the community post tab. I feel like it's leaning one direction specifically.
Will. It looks like we got too many Whovians in there that are who are mucking it up to vote for what they think is cool.
Yeah, but I mean, he is cool though, right?
I mean, yes. I'm not gonna dump on the guy, but I was hoping that we'd get based off or get the votes based off of what people thought would be a cool deck, not what people thought would be a cool guy. in general.
Right, right. So right now, I think in the lead is the 10th Doctor. So if you want to participate on that, we encourage you to do so. But Will is going to be building out a CADH version of a companion Time Lord deck. So if you wanted to check that out, a very particular brew, vote for one of them. Hopefully we can swing the vote in another favor. I know you pulled an Adric though, and Adric was like up there for you, so.
Yeah, I pulled two Adrics, and one was extended art, and the other was extended art foil. So I'm happy.
Oh wow, that's awesome. Yeah, yeah. I've got a lot of like I pulled the 8th Doctor twice extended search foil. Twice.
I don't think
I'm
I
like,
pulled any copies of the Eighth Doctor, but I know there's one in the deck, one of the decks that I have. So
oh well, lucky
it,
you just got it anyway. I was gonna say because I think I don't know if you're doing an 8th Doctor pair. You are doing an 8th Doctor pair. Like so
I
you
am.
want okay, you wanted to.
To for everybody who doesn't know, the four decks that I'm potentially brewing are either the 13th Doctor with Adric, because the 13th Doctor untaps all your stuff. Adric lets you copy, activate, and triggered abilities, giving you infinite untaps. The 5th Doctor with Adric for the exact same reason. The 8th Doctor with Ryan, and this is a polymorph deck, because the 8th Doctor is a polymorph outlet with a Tidespout Tyrant to mill your deck and replay every historic in your graveyard. And then Ryan lets you roll into your low CMC rocks really well. And then the 10th Doctor and Sarah polymorph, and Sarah is a Tidespout Tyrant outlet because you can keep bouncing Sarah and bouncing historics and then replaying everything to get more clues, because every time Sarah's bounced it, she resets. And then the 10th Doctor, which is primarily just there for colors. However, he also lets you roll into your stuff and is a good late game value engine. So yeah, he's like the thing that you can ramp into with a ton of mana. So he's still worth running in the deck. And right now, the 10th Doctor with Sarah is winning at 60 or 67% from what I'm looking at.
Yeah, so there's a very high probability you're going to be playing the 10th Doctor and Sarah soon. Well, I'm excited to see it at least.
Also Stormtrooper, the 8th Doctor does not do copies. That's the 6th Doctor. 8th Doctor says ETB mill 3 and you can play one historic from your graveyard per turn. The 6th
It's pretty
Doctor is
solid.
when you yeah,
Yeah.
and the 6th Doctor is when you cast a historic spell for the first time each turn. Or sorry, when you cast a historic spell, get a non-legendary copy of it, only trigger once per turn. I love that Doctor in Casual because you can pair that Doctor with Clara Oswald, which is a card we're going to go over in the very near future. And Clara Oswald lets you copy Doctor triggers, and you'll have two Clara Oswalds in play, meaning that you're going to get three additional copies of every historic that you play from there on out. And if you can bounce Clara Oswald, you're going to get even more triggers.
Right. Clara Oswald, I think, is like one of the white companions. We'll see her in a
Nope.
second.
He's the any color companion.
Are you Oh, yes. You're very right. All right, she's right there. We can look at her. We can take a little peek.
Yeah.
But does she come in one of the precons?
Paradox, I believe.
Okay, oh, so you have it.
Yeah.
Elgin, happy streaming, babies. Yeah, happy streaming, babies. I think it's time we could start officially. Sorry, we're kind of just mucking about, chatting as we usually do. But yeah, if you guys want to participate, again, the community post tab is literally on the like if you click the home page for this channel, you'll come here. It'll say what's currently running. My face, these cards. F&M this Friday. Definitely be there. It's not open play, sadly, but we will have more MTG marathons. I enjoy them too much. It's like when I get the most of my CDH playing in. But if you go down here to the community post tab, you can see all of these ongoing polls. And of course, the one for Will's next deck. So I did vote for the 8th Doctor here. Anytime it's not something that we need to actively, like, we need active numbers for, I'll vote for the stuff I want. Sadly, the 8th Doctor's losing by a large margin.
8th Doctor too.
You
I
did?
wanted to actually brew the 8th Doctor.
I feel like he's the coolest pairing personally, but
Ryan is also really cool. Like Ryan is just a low CMC thing that goes like, oh yeah,
right.
Cascade into something.
Oh,
He's so good.
Ryan's the red companion. Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll take a look at that in just a second. I promise. But if you're see again, I think it's OBS that's messing up my loop deck and not the other way around because my loop deck's not working. spend hundreds of dollars for a thing, you just expect it to work. But we can go manual tonight, babies. Hi again, I'm Patrick Marlette, your local game guy. I'm joined by co-host Will, and we're going to be discussing Doctor Who. So again, here's how this is going to shake out if you're just now joining us. We're going to cover all the singles from the set that we enjoy, some of our personal favorite picks, whether they fit into every deck or not. But we just want to cover staples for you in case you're looking to pick up singles from the set, which I think a majority of us are. I know myself, I've been playing Magic the Gathering for years. I generally look at new sets that way. I just so happen to be in a situation where I can crack packs and potentially pull stuff. So very fortunate for that. But all the singles you need, and obviously we'll be covering some Doctor companion pairings and just discussing the legendaries after, but notably the ones that are good for CDH. At any point, while we're covering anything on Wooburg, let's just say we're in blue, and there's something you want us to talk about before we move on, let us know, and we'll get to talking about it. And obviously, your 2 cents, very much welcome here. Anytime there's a card you want to discuss in depth that you've tested or are using by the time you see this video, let us know. We'd love to know how it worked out for you. But if you're watching now, I encourage you to leave this video a like. It does help other people find it, and it has been a boon for us here. And on that note, I was recording and then it canceled, and then I'm going to hit record now so that we can get some coverage for you guys in the short form. A lot of you guys like the short form videos, and it actually has helped these live streams, letting you guys know if you're a content creator. But let's go over to Scryfall. We're going to be viewing all these cards, and I keep forgetting. Loop deck. Okay, here we are. So these are they say commanders. Are these like the face commanders for those sets? Is that what I'm looking at?
Yep, they're the face commanders. You have Davros and Missy as the 2 potential ones for the evil deck. Then you have 10th Doctor and Rose Tyler, 4th Doctor and Sarah Jane, and 13th Doctor and Yasmin Khan. I haven't watched anything with the 13th Doctor, so I don't know how to pronounce the names of the later characters.
It seems close enough. I like that. Yeah, I actually am interested in watching the 10th Doctor's season just because I like this actor, but that's neither here nor there. We're just discussing if this guy, Mr. Timey-Wimey, is any good himself, but we're going to get to those later. So let's start with white.
Or
why does
we
Clara...
can start with colorless, if
right.
we really want, because she's technically all colors and no colors.
Okay. Well, I'm just going in the order that they're here.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could start with Clara. So I have a short list of cards. Will, I presume you have a short list of cards you want to cover. We could just go in that order, and I'll start. I only have 2 cards for white that I really want to discuss.
Yep.
So one of them, and this is on a very personal level, but if you run a list that utilizes historics, this is a very good card. Will already hinted at it. Thank you for electing to send it to me. I appreciate that. I have some trade credit coming to me, so anything I don't get, I'm building out Shurikai, so actually I might need all of that trade credit to go towards Shurikai. It's like, oh my gosh. Sorry, sidebar. I'm sending like $500 worth of cards. I had no idea that my Chalice of the Void, like Judge promo or whatever, was worth so much. So I'm like, okay, I don't play this anymore. I don't really need it. The Seb McKinnon one. And I was looking at this, like the staples for Shurikai. I'm going to need more than $500. I gotta say, there's a lot of stuff in there that blues just like, that are just notably good cards. But Banished to Another Universe is another notably good card. So it's 4 generic and a white enchantment, affinity for historic permanence. That's artifacts, legendaries, sagas. When Banished to Another Universe enters the battlefield, exile target non-land permanent opponent controls until Banished to Another Universe leaves the battlefield. We've all seen this effect before, like Otherworldly Journey. There's like a ton of effects that do this same thing, particularly in white. But when it's 4 generic, 1 white pip, and you're playing Oswald Fiddlebender, well, I don't know if you guys have joined any of our FNMs, but you might notice how I give those Dockside Extortionists like 7 treasures by myself. So this is really good removal in a list like that. And I'm talking just artifacts, like Oswald himself counts toward this, remember legendaries, right? So this is going to be a very effectively good card in that deck, despite it not being an artifact. Like, you can look at this as if it's another Path to Exile or Swords to Plowshare, and potentially, you know, maybe you take Path to Exile out for this, right? It does hit more things, and we might not need the additional creature removal, though with the prominence of like Orcish Bowmasters and opposition agents, you might just want the redundancy. So now we get another good removal tool. But yeah, what are your thoughts on this one, Will?
I think it's pretty good, just because even in the decks that don't have a ton of artifacts, or at least don't get artifacts out very quickly, this is still going to be like probably 2 mana, exile a permanent, which is pretty good.
Yeah.
Also, this is really good with partner commanders. This is really good with Kodama. This is really good with a bunch of things. So this card will see play.
You know what's interesting? Like even Crom and Timna, even Crom and Timna as two legendaries make this 3 CMC, which is like reasonable. It's too generic, mind you.
You are definitely ramping into Crom, so it's probably like 1 CMC in a partner deck.
Right, I was gonna say like, oh yeah, that Mana Crypt can pay the 2 generic. Wait, no, that Mana Crypt can pay the 1 generic. And like, oh no, you also put out a Signet or a Talisman or a Felwar Stone or an Arc. You know, like you're gonna have all the means there to where like your like the ramp that's most popular in CDH, artifact based ramp, is going to make this less so than it actually is, like, and help you cast it. So it's amazing. I really like it. I think it's a new staple in white, pending the list. I think that there are a lot of white lists that will be able to slot it in like conveniently as well. Whether or not you hit that threshold, like Oswald very much will. The only other card I want to talk about is, I don't think it's as good as people think it is, but I want to bring it up because it's the cash card everyone's trying to open packs for. Everybody poops. So everybody poops. Let's talk about it. For a generic and a white, instant speed. All creatures, everybody lives, okay? All creatures gain hexproof and indestructible until end of turn. Cool. That's you and your opponents. There's kind of a theme here in this set with like affecting all things, and you'll get what I'm talking about in a second.
But also really quick, for Trickster, yes, we're talking from a CDH perspective for pretty much everything today.
Right. So, you know, the pool of cards we'll be looking at is narrow, but again, as I mentioned in the beginning, and I'll reiterate now, if there's a specific card you guys want to look at, you know, maybe something we missed or something that you feel might be better in a casual setting, or is also effectively good in CDH, but maybe in niche situations or a particular commander, please let us know. Like, we can't catch them all, okay? We're not Ash Ketchum. I don't even think he caught them all.
I was going to make the exact same joke, by the way.
Oh, well, there you go.
I was going to say, yeah, this isn't Pokemon, or something along the lines of that.
Yeah, like didn't Ash just retire at 16 or something? That perpetual
he
teenager.
retired after 16 after catching like a total of like 20 Pokemon.
Right. but like notable badass Pokemon, by the way. Except for the Pikachu. Pikachu is just cute. Players gain.
You think Pikachu isn't badass, Patrick?
Nah, definitely give that thing the Thunderstone. Get it to Raichu. Stop kidding yourself. It's a better Pokemon. Let's get real here, kids.
Right, but
I'm Raichu. Players gain hexproof until end of turn. Players can't lose life this turn, and players can't lose the game or win the game this turn. It's not a good card. I don't think this is a good card. I think
this is a pretty good card.
I think it suffers from the same issue as Angel's Grace. Like, I'm not okay. So I stopped this one guy from doing Thassa's Oracle. So in a CDH setting, like, what are you really doing? I guess I would ask the question, like, it's not like it's split second or anything. So it's not like you can see the Walking Ballista getting the tokens and then do this and stop. Or you could be like, hey, who are you going to kill first? And they're like, oh, I guess you're my best friend, so I'll kill you last. And then I can do it. No, they could just do this over top of this spell. Most situations where this is good, I feel like those circumstances, like, they'll be able to circumvent the fact that this is on the stack. So, like, really, it's stopping Thassa's Oracle from winning the game this turn. And it's like, okay, well, I've done that. And I can also stop that player from winning the game with Angel's Grace, and I don't run that card. I hate utilities that are so narrow. So if this hit, like Surge of Salvation recently, that one white pip card that gives all your permanents hexproof or something, it's a better card for what it's doing specifically, although this is more flexible. I'll give it that. That's a better card for me because it protects all of my things and not just creatures. So there's only so many instances where those creatures are actually important to give hexproof and indestructible. CDH setting, you're not really looking for combat tricks. So the indestructible is like not really vital there. The hexproof's likely the more important part and is going to be keeping up your hate bears, right? But players getting hexproof, players can't lose life this turn. There might be plays for that, mind you, but again, it's they're far and few between for me. I feel like I would maybe throw this in a deck because it looks appealing, and I'll find that the use cases aren't really benefiting me so much as they are everyone, which is the concept of this card. I think it's a little... I'm iffy on this, Will. Sell me on this, Will.
So I will say that this card is just pretty much strictly better heroic intervention, and
Oh
that's
yeah,
why I love this card.
which is a
So
generic and a green,
green,
so
yeah,
same cost. Yeah.
yeah, and heroic intervention hits permanents and is a hexproof indestructible for your permanents. But here's the reason why I love this more. The first line is the crazy part of all of this because you don't protect just your stuff, you protect your opponent's stuff. So if
Right.
someone wants to try to remove a stacks piece that's going to let them win the game, no, there's just a counterspell in white to protect that piece. On top of the fact that the hexproof isn't too relevant most of the time, but it can help in certain situations because we've seen the One Ring giving protection from everything, stopping someone from winning because they can't loop Praetor's Grasp or something like that, or can't loop Lightning Bolt. So that's more of a funny one. But then the players cannot lose life one is also brutal because that means after this resolves, fetch lands can't be cracked, necropotence can't be activated, no one can pay life into anything because life totals can't change. So this is kind of also stack spell for the turn. But the one reason why this is really, really good, it's another Angel's Grace specifically for Ad Nauseam. So it's a better Angel's Grace in the sole perspective that you can cast Ad Nauseam, cast this, and draw your deck.
Yeah.
So it's a combo piece that has a interaction utility. That's why I think it's good.
I can appreciate that. I think that it's interesting. So, Search of Salvation, it really depends on what your deck's doing. It's just to highlight this card because it was brought up. Isn't Search more narrow? Right. Like I said, it is definitely more narrow. You in permanents you control, though, gain hexproof until end of turn. The indestructibility is vital, but less so when it's given hexproof, right? In most cases, like the artifacts in an Oswald deck, which is the white deck I play, they need hexproof more than anything, and that'll stop anything that's coming to them. The damage from red and black sources is actually kind of important because it also means you can get around, if for some reason the hexproof is invalid, you can get around like Fire Covenant or any sort of removal effects in that sense, and or any sort of oncoming creatures that you have to chump block for whatever reason. Right. So Surge of Salvation in that list is great, and it's only one white. In most instances, like, I'm not leaving up that much mana for interaction, so 2 is kind of a high bar to conquer. I do think that there are playable routes for this card, but I don't know that I'm really... The issue is it's stopping you from winning this game too, which is a big thing. And in white alone, it's most of the decks are winning at sorcery speed, so it's not like giving yourself an extra turn is gonna be useful. The more colors you go into, obviously, like Will was saying, you can do this in the same sense that you would do Angel's Grace Adnos. You can do that. And then you could potentially win on the next turn, right? Those are 2 instant speed spells. So this is also instant speed. So it lives up to that standard as well. I just don't like it personally. I don't find myself in any situations where I think I'm going to need to run this. I am making Shorikai. I don't think Shorikai wants this. What? I guess that's where we should start then before we move away from this one. What lists want Everybody Lives?
Either Turbo Nos decks or mono white decks that need a little bit more interaction. That's kind of what I'd say, and a couple of the other decks that are probably 2 color. But if you have the interaction, you don't really need it. This card is overhyped. I will agree with you on that, but it's still pretty playable because it is just a protect everything board state won't change card. So if someone's trying to pop off and win, this is kind of a counterspell in whatever color pairing you're in.
Yeah.
And also to Trickster in the chat again, you cannot pay life if you cannot lose life. It is something that you'll see with what's it called? The
Yasharn?
not Yusharn, but Platinum Giant or whatever that thing is called. I can never remember the name of it.
Angel of Jubilation? Wait.
Not Angel of Jubilation. It's just the 8 mana 8/8 that says life totals can't change.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Or
yeah, but
your life total can't change.
so yeah, that card needs to be under Isochron. Everybody lives. And funny, I'm playing the Isochron combo in Shorakai. I would agree with that, but it's kind of integral that I save that solely. I save that solely for my freaking dramatic reversal. Although someone's been trying to coerce me to use the Nexus of Fate slash what is it called, Isochron Scepter with Mystical Tutor, and just using that every turn as a potential win. I actually kind of like that concept because it's not difficult to get to that mana. But yeah, Everybody Lives is probably. I mean, if you had it on a stick, if you had it on the stick and you had Unwinding Clock out, then that's like a dream scenario, right? You just do Everybody Lives on everybody's turn. You're like, let's just keep it going, people. You'll need a Voltaic key to like really insist on it going off. But again, most of the interaction I'm looking for, like, I don't break that one CMC slot in interaction unless it's something that I think is useful enough to warrant it. And I do run abeyance in that same deck, so I think a single target silence is usually generally better. Like, if I think I can win, I'm not going to play Everybody Lives. I'm going to do abeyance and then stop the one player that can stop me from winning. But I don't know. I definitely think it's overhyped, though. I'll say that if you are interested in getting it, wait for the prices to come down because it's kind of expensive right now. Right.
Like just buy the commander deck. You might be able to buy the commander deck and get that plus some other good stuff.
Which deck is this in?
I don't know. This is the one with the 10th Doctor, so this should be in Tiny Wimey?
Oh, I gotta. You mean I got a copy? Forget everything. Forget everything I said then.
Both Nanogen and Everybody Lives are from 10th Doctor.
What?
Or not 10th Doctor, 9th Doctor? Freaking leather jacket cool guy doctor.
Is he in this one?
I believe so. Give me a second. I'm gonna look.
Well, this is gonna help you figure out which list you need to buy because it's gonna be another one of those situations where, you'll buy the precon specifically for the dark side or specifically for the. In this case,
yeah, it's the 9th Doctor. Does that deck have the 9th Doctor?
I assume so. I think this one has the 9th because the other. Yeah. Well, we'll see.
It should say it on the front. I
think it does. No, yes, it does. It definitely does. Contains Doctors 9, 10, and 11. So cool.
Yeah. So it is in that deck. It is in Tiny Wimey.
Well, I guess I'm gonna use it then. I guess I'm just gonna.
Well, you do have a copy.
I'm gonna slam it in every deck. All right. Well, any other white cards you want to discuss? And this goes out to the audience as well. Are there any white cards you would all like to discuss with us? Definitely let me know. Let's see here. Platinum Emporion or something.
Yeah, Empyrean. Platinum Empyrean it's the 8 mana 8/8 that I was talking about that says life totals can't change.
Whether everything comes to dust, is this what you want? 4 Nox.
Well, I did want to bring up the one white card that was not mentioned that I think is something to look at, which is the Pandorica. And
it's right here. It's right here.
Yeah, the only reason why I bring this up is it's not terrible in Oswald because it's a reusable piece of removal that can temporarily get rid of things that are problematic and return them later, and it's permanent removal. It's not fantastic, but it's an artifact, which is the only reason why I think that it could be considered.
I don't know. Like, I really I eye every artifact when they come out. My only qualm with this, my only issue, because it's such a high cost to do it. Because it's 3 CMC, do nothing when you play it. Okay, mind you. It's not like draw a card and then it does a thing. Right? At least it comes into play untapped because there's been plenty of rare artifacts that are seemingly useful, but then super do nothing on arrival. The only issue is it costs 2 and a tap to do the thing. And the last line of text says activate only a sorcery speed. So you're really only ever gonna, it's not a trick. You're not able to pull this out to save your thing. Right? And for that, you should just run Mother of Runes, Giver of Runes, Skrell. Like those creatures are great. This is definitely what Will was saying, like temporary permanent removal, non-land permanent, I should say. It's good for that. Don't get me wrong. It's really good for that. It's a costly artifact. And yes, Oswald could technically convert into it, and then you sort of cheat around the cost. I don't know if it's worth a slot in that list unless you're building Again, people ask me all the time, like, how can I make Oswald more casual? You take out all the fast mana, you'll definitely need utilities like this. So if you're playing a more casual version of that deck, then sure, I think Pandorica is probably really good because it's not looking at the level, the cost of the character. I'm using One Piece terminology. It's not using the cost of the character to dictate whether it can get rid of it. You just get rid of it. So yeah, I agree with you, Will. Did you want to talk about Clara before we move on, just because she's up here?
We can do the pairings afterwards.
Right. It's yeah. Well, she'll reappear, I think, down below. But yeah, if there's any other white cards, let me know. Ninth is Timey Wimey. William Gary says, would Evra Halcyon Witness get the power buff after you play this?
Let me see what that card is.
Will it let me look up words on cards? No, I don't know what Evra is either.
Oh, that's the switch this thing's power with your life total. So I do not believe that you would get the life bonus because your life total cannot change, therefore it cannot be exchanged either. So, but it would not get the power buff, to answer your question.
Okay. The stream keeps me making me think I really gotta know about this Oswald. Yeah. Well, if you watch any of our FNMs, just skip around. Wait till you see a board state on Lord of the Rings playmat that looks massive, and then just start from there. It'll give you an.
You see a massive board state and Patrick holding a pile of cards so big that he can
Right.
club a squirrel to death.
Right,
like that is what Oswald is.
If you see me
have your
like
deck in your hand on turn 3, 4.
Right. If I look like this, if I'm like struggling to figure out what I'm doing because it's just the fattest hand, that's Oswald at peak. That's peak Oswald. Okay. It doesn't look like anyone has any questions about any other cards in white, so we're gonna move on to blue. And I skipped Adric, but again, I do want to jump back to him later. Is that okay?
I mean, I'm not going to skip Adric. Adric is my boy, and he should be mentioned for like 2 to 3 other decks.
All right. Well, I'll do the get to your pile after we talk about cyber conversion. So, look, I know it's not the greatest piece of removal you've seen, but it's actually a pretty valid piece of removal in my opinion. So, cyber conversion, double blue. All right, stay with me. Instant speed. Turn target creature face down. It's a 2/2 Cyberman artifact creature. I got a Surge Foil Cyberman token, by the way. So if we need to represent it, if I play Cyber Conversion, I'll hand out
really quick. I do want to say this because I know that people are going to get super triggered. People usually pronounce it Cyba, so Cyberman.
Oh.
Because British.
Well, look, I'm American, okay? And my forefathers didn't come to this country to pronounce cyber. I mean, it doesn't.
You coming over here with your fish and chips? These are Cyberman.
Don't you tell me how to pronounce my favorite doctor's enemy. Yeah. So cyber conversion.
No, it's cyber conversion, but it's Cybermen.
Okay, well, Cybermen are 2/2s. They're pretty seemingly useless. It's almost like giving someone a swan, but without flying. The difference being, if it's a morph creature, I suppose they could turn face up. But otherwise, if it's a value creature that they're trying to get value out of, right? Like if it's let's just say it's a dockside. A lot of lists like to, play the dockside, Fimage the dockside. The thing is, if you were to use a chain of Vapor Stiller like a snap, you can get around this. But in a lot of instances, like you'll kill your dockside, reanimate the dockside. And this is just one notable instance. This limits the amount of options you have to get that creature back. Or if it's a pesky commander, this is a really good way to remove that commander, right? So if you feel like you're going to lose to a Godo on a given turn, do this to Godo. I don't know what they do at that point. I guess they're waiting to pull a shock or a lightning bolt or something to kill.
Or an abrade or a smelt or something like that.
Right. Oh, it is an artifact creature, mind you. So red does have good removal in that sense. But you can see where the play lines come in here. You're removing something you're removing something in one sense, but you're also giving them an additional step to get that thing back if it's something that they needed. So I really like cyber conversion. Even if it costs double blue, I think it's still probably worth a consideration. Any other thoughts on the Cyberman artifact creature granting card?
But you covered pretty much everything. It's just an interesting piece of removal that can make people lose their commanders for a very long time.
I lost you at double blue. Oh my god. You don't
Well, then you're
run.
gonna hate the next card that I'm
I
pretty sure
know.
Patrick is about to bring up.
Probably. Yeah, you don't run mana drain. I feel like the devs for Diablo, when I just turn to audience and say, "You guys don't have cell phones, you don't play islands." Yeah, double blue can be difficult to hit. Trust me, I understand that. But if you're in a dual colored list or a monocolored list, you're gonna love this. It's not difficult. Same thing with flesh duplicate. Is that what you were thinking I was gonna say?
Yeah, that's what I thought you were gonna say
Yeah.
next.
You know why though? And did we talk about this? How this is a potentially better image and
Yeah,
phantasmal image, I should say. Okay,
I
so
don't think we've talked about it publicly, but you and I have discussed it when we were
private,
talking about
yeah,
stuff.
privately, yes, we've discussed the flesh duplicate many times privately, but she's double blue, shapeshifter rebel. Are you gonna tell me I'm supposed to pronounce duplicate a different way? Let me know.
Yes, but I'm not gonna criticize you past Sabs then.
It's you may have flesh duplicate enter the battlefield as a copy of another creature on the battlefield, except it has vanishing 3 if that creature doesn't already have vanishing. So that just means like it's like a on your upkeep you'll remove a time counter. When all of them go away, guess what? This goes away, you sacrifice it. So yeah, it's they like these don't usually come cheap, right? These copy effects. So we got another one. I'll let you
Yeah,
guys figure out what to do with it.
yeah. Say everything that you say about Phantasmal Image, except for the fact that your opponent can't put a +1/+1 counter on it to kill it.
Yeah, exactly. And it really depends on what you're copying. Here, I'm gonna run a poll. I just want to see if the audience likes this card. Give me all your best scenarios for this card, Will.
Copying an enemy's dockside or your own dockside, copying a stacks piece for a couple turns, and then having it blow up on your upkeep so that you can combo off with it not being on the board anymore. Um, being able to just copy someone else's commander, being able to copy your own commander. Name a phantasmal image thing. It does that, but it will not be as easily removed, and it will have a time limit to it, which can be both positive and negative. But in a lot of cases, it's honestly positive to have this blown up after 3 turns,
Right.
because either if you got a high value thing, you probably comboed off and won. If you got like a stacks piece to prevent people from winning, you want that blown up at some point. And also the other good part about this is really good for Tidespout Tyrant loops or other kind of loops, which you can't do with Phantasmal Image. So if you can copy an opponent's dockside, you can combo off with this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, this is really great for that. I like the applications for Flesh Duplicate a lot more than Vimage. I think that I think Phantasmal Image is still technically, is it a generic and a blue?
Yeah, it's one in the blue.
Just to check for the because we mentioned this card so much just right there. This has sort of been like a namesake for blue list for a while now. If your deck runs creatures, then outside of like a few polymorph list, then you're probably on Phantasmal Image. It's just good value. But yeah, it's fantastic. I like having more of these. Again, in that 2 CMC slot, I don't think there are many. I think it's literally just these 2. I could be wrong. There might be like a lesser one out there, but they generally go higher in cost. So the double blue I think is palatable here.
The only other one that I think there is a creature that says when this becomes a target of a spell or ability, then you can have this become a copy of target creature until the end of the turn. That's the only other 2 mana copy.
Right. So I feel like normally when Phantasmal Image comes down, it's trying to copy that ETB, whatever that ETB is. So
Yeah.
it's the same. It's similar. It's not the same. But I don't know which one you're referring to though. I'm trying to think of the name. If the audience knows, let me know.
Also, that someone brought up that fleshy or flesh duplicate isn't timey wimey, so you have a copy of flesh duplicate,
Somehow
Patrick.
fleshy. Can we just refer to flesh duplicate? You know what? You were just talking about how this is good in Tidespout Tyrant loops, and like I am tempted now. If there's a way to still polymorph and get this, and then go get fleshy, you get fleshy. If you happen to pull into fleshy instead of Tidespout or Hullbreak Horror, there's got to be like a way to untap the Proteus staff or like recover the polymorph. we're gonna tool it. Like if Fleshy is in here, I'm just gonna keep saying Fleshy until it becomes a thing. Then I will definitely want to play it. But I like this card a lot, and there's actually a handful more blue than there are any other cards to discuss. The next one, we have a full-fledged video coming out for tomorrow. That is the Patrick Marlette guarantee. I'm going to be working overdrive to make sure that comes out tomorrow. It's a card in a similar fashion to the way we did our Lord of the Rings coverage for the One Ring. We feel that it's going to help shape the meta in some sense, and it deserved its own video. So we've got coverage for this particular blue card discussing which legendaries it's going to pair well with. Again, not for every list, so not a staple in that sense, but definitely a staple for a handful of decks. And that card's Nanogen Conversion. And Will, you kind of witnessed like the utility of this first. So do you want to cover Nanogen?
Yep. So Nanogen Conversion is 3 and a blue for sorcery. Choose target creature you control. Each other creature becomes a copy of that creature except it isn't a legendary. So we got the cards very early, and Patrick and I looked over everything like very briefly, and then I gave a second glance through and I saw Nanogen Conversion, stopped on it, and I said, "Yeah, this doesn't do anything." Paused, looked back, and I said, "Wait, this is freaking insane." So there is a card that does something similar in Strixhaven. I can't remember the name of it, but it's a creature on the front side for green. On the back side, it's 3 blue for sorcery that says choose target creature you control. Creatures you control become a non-legendary copy of that creature until the end of the turn. But the reason why this is so much better, 1, you don't need to include green. 2, it's 1 less blue mana. And 3, this changes all creatures. Every single creature on your board and your opponent's board, meaning that you're removing all of your opponent's value and stacks and replacing them with your commander, which can let some funny things happen with something like Edric.
I was gonna say, yeah, like that's sort of the one that comes to mind, because Edric doesn't care. Like Edric will give draws to your opponents too. It's a group hug, right? Well, if it's only for your turn, imagine when you cast Nanogen Conversion on Edric, Spymaster of Trest. Is that his full name? Imagine when you do that, and then there's like 9 Edrics in play. You're like, oh, that's quite a lot of draw for you, right? But that's just one scenario. I've mentioned this with a certain ninja that everyone loves, the Demir darling herself, Yuriko. She's fantastic with this. Obviously, you're going to be running a lot of evasive creatures anyway, so imagine you having 4 to 5 to 6 ninjas on the battlefield, provided there is a target you can hit. Every ninja that gets in is going to trigger this multiple times off of each Yuriko. There's Derevi. Just pick a commander that you like that has an effect that's on combat or on damage or on anything, and then think about how that's even better with like 5 of that commander. So Nanogen Conversion has a lot of different play lines, and because it's accessible off of a recently released tutor, Beseech the Mirror, it's that much easier to get to as well. Like, I think this is going to be a 1-2 punch in a lot of Demir lists, or any list that includes black-blue, but even by itself in a list that's Simic or otherwise, just mentioning Edric, it's really good. I think it's really good.
And the 3 main commanders that I've seen that are very crazy with this are Tulane, Najila, and then Yuriko. Because Najila makes a bunch of warriors that you can turn into extra copies of Najila to make more warriors, move to combat and make more warriors. You easily get into the hundreds of warriors with Nanogen Conversion in 1 turn. Because like, let's say you have 4 warrior tokens, you have 5 Najilas, move to combat, make 25 warrior tokens, extra combat, make what would that be? Make 25 warrior tokens, then move to combat, make 150 more warrior tokens. So game.
I don't know, people always talk about infinite combos, and it's really frustrating when we I've made videos where we're talking about cards that combo well, like it's a combination. These 2 things work really well together, and then people will be like, but that's not infinite. I'm like, not everything needs to be infinite to be a combo, 1, but 2, making 150 warriors it doesn't need to
Come
be
in
infinite.
tapped and attacking.
Right, like that doesn't need to be infinite to be good. That's just good. That's just really good. And by the way, and like you were being very modest, no one, like when you turn one the Najila, you're going to have so many more warriors by the point you're getting out an antigen conversion or are thinking about an antigen conversion, that you will make so, and that's just including warriors. Remember, like you're making the bodies right. It's just so grossly effective. Again, I think that this is a deck, a card that will change the meta for some decks. I think it's going to lift some legendaries out of obscurity, and I think it's definitely include in like the list we'll be mentioning tomorrow. So
Yeah.
not too much more to say on this
go
one.
into more detail on everything, but we go into detail in that video, so I'll leave it to that.
It does feel icky with your opponents getting copies of everything. I just want to state, like, again, not for every list. Be mindful of what you're doing. Again, it is only for the turn, but if you're giving people something that is of value off turn, clearly not a good idea. Also, be mindful of the fact that, you know, Yuriko's what, a 1/3? Like, you're not going to get in over certain players that also have Yuriko's at that moment. So be mindful of, like, how you make your attacks. Obviously, your deck build's going to vary. Like, if you have ways to remove anything off the board, right? Like in Edric's case, you probably want the more Edrics. But if you need to get in on someone for a specific trigger to occur, then just be mindful of your plays. But it's like, it's good. I think it's just generically good, you know. And Timna, I don't know if Timna Crom's going to use this. There might be some like Timna Malcolm list or Timna, you know.
Timna Crom can use it in pretty gross ways, because if you get like 4 Timnas, then it's like, oh yeah, by the way, I'm drawing 12 cards.
Is that cool?
Yeah.
Is that cool with everyone?
Build an Adnos. Don't worry about it. Also, I'm going to turn off all of your stacks pieces for my Adnos turn.
Right.
So,
it's like, and like the Tivit's not going to block your. He's not. The Tivit player's not going to block with a 2/2 Timna.
Yeah,
and lose their.
Say, like you're about to say, no one's going to block with the Tivit, and it's like, well, no, that's not exactly. Tivit anymore.
Exactly. But you know what I'm saying? Like, it puts them in a really hairy situation too. But it also opens up some really interesting play lines for removal, like things that only kill 2 drops or. Anyways, there's so many plays for it. Again, look at your legendary. If it makes sense, try it. But we've got a whole host of legendaries that you should check out. There's only one more I want to mention that's a pseudo interesting. What was that?
Is it SOB?
Is that what we're calling this card? Wait, yeah. Where is it? Where is it?
Son of a bitch.
I don't see it.
Search of Brilliance?
No.
Oh, I thought you were going to do Search of Brilliance. Never mind.
No, okay, well, if we see the card, I'll talk about it. Bring up the ones you want to see.
Oh, sure, yeah. So I'll go into the cards that I wanted to bring up. So firstly, Adric, Mathematical Genius, and this is the one Doctor's Companion that I'm going to bring up before we actually talk about Doctor's Companions, because Adric is a sackable stifle, which is nice. Just stifle an activated or triggered ability. But then also 2 in a blue, tap, copy, and activated or triggered ability you control. You may choose new targets. That's really good, because if you have anything that says untap all creatures or all permanents, that's probably an infinite combo with Adric. And the funny thing is, we have several commanders that say untap all creatures you control, like Najila, like a couple of the different doctors. There's a couple others, I can't remember all of them, but they're in a video that might be coming out in a while. But Adric combos off so easily, in addition to the fact that Adric combos off with Village Bellringer, and what is it? Not Intruder Alarm. No, Intruder Alarm, my bad. And a bunch of other things. And Estrid, that's the other commander. Estrid the Masked. So Adric is just really good in a couple different decks, in addition to the fact you just copy your abilities. That's really good. That's good on a lot of different things, because you can crack your fetch land, then copy your fetch land activation to get another land. You can copy the One Ring. You can copy like any tutor trigger if you have a tutor trigger. Like,
yeah, if you wanted more burden counters on your One Ring, just, you know.
Well, no, you just double the draw.
Yeah.
Casually,
that's true.
Copy the draw.
That's true, because the burden, as we've learned, is before the colon. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay. No, it's after the colon. I forget.
It's after the colon. It's just another activation. Yeah. I wasn't paying a ton of attention. But yeah, Adric is just really good. he's a combo piece that's also a value piece that's also interaction piece because you can stifle someone's Thoracle. Adric is just generally really good for a lot of different reasons.
Yeah, and it's also like just on curve. Like speaking of playability, it's a generic and a blue. So any of your if you control your commander effects will work if you have Adric on the battlefield. So and if you notice, a lot of the doctors in our pairings in particular, those Time Lord doctors are very expensive. So getting to your free spells might not even be considered if those were the only legendaries in the command zone. But the fact that Adric's accessible and very playable makes it all the easier. So like those are easy includes. Yeah.
It's also funny because we recently got the Peregrine Dynamo, which is an artifact creature that can copy an activated or triggered ability of a legendary source you control, except your commander. And Adric is just kind of a better version of that with a higher
Right.
cost for the copy.
I
Because
forget this Peregrine Dynamo. This guy's so annoying. This could have been so good, by
I
the way.
know. But outside of Adric, there's a couple other blue cards that I really liked from the set that have not been brought up yet. One is Danny Pink, who's a really interesting commander because Danny Pink is 3 in a blue for 4/3 human soldier advisor with mentor, and creatures you control have, when one or more counters are put on this creature for the first time each turn, draw a card. Why is this really gross and disgusting? There's a lot of creatures that will put counters on themselves. There's also a lot of card effects that say when you draw a card, put a +1/+1 counter on a creature you control, meaning that eventually you are just drawing a card for every creature you control every single turn, drawing your entire deck very quickly. Danny Pink is just kind of a really good control commander because your hand will always be full, because at worst you're drawing one additional card every turn. At best, you're drawing like 30.
Is there and they don't need to be +1/+1 counters or they could
Nope.
be any counters. So I'm trying to think of is there not a combo here like moving like a cryptic trilobite
Uh,
kind of
the ability
thing?
only triggers once each turn.
Oh, okay. Well, that's if
It,
you're not using nanogen conversion. Because then you'll
yeah.
get you'll get so many.
Yes.
Actually,
Yes.
is that a thing? Yeah, whenever this creature attacks, put a 1/1 counter target attacking creature with lesser power. Well, oof, that doesn't work.
I
Okay.
mean, to be fair, you can go in a chain where you just go, okay, I have a 5/4. I'm just gonna go nah 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 nah. You might have to choose targets beforehand, so I don't think
Right.
that actually works. But yeah, target. Dang it. Oh
Yeah.
well. But Danny Pink can still do some really cool stuff. And then next is this is an interesting card because it makes a couple different commanders work a bit better. 500-year diary. 3 in a blue for an artifact, legendary artifact clue that enters tapped. Tap, add a blue for every clue you control. Also, it's a clue so you can pay some sack and draw.
Mm-hmm.
There's a couple commanders that make a lot of clues very quickly, and this is pretty much just a don't pay mana for the rest of the game card with those decks.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's fantastic in those, but I think it's something worth considering. Keeping
I
it simple,
can.
keeping it there.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
And then I only have 2 more for blue, and one is Quantum Misalignment. It's 4 in a blue for sorcery. Copy target or create a token copy of target creature, except it isn't legendary, and it has rebound. We just talked about nanogen conversion doing stupid stuff by making copies of your commander. This makes permanent copies, in addition to the fact that it has rebound, which is relevant specifically for Orvar, because you can make more copies by targeting an Orvar copy with this to have Orvar make a copy. So this is just a good card. I think it's best in Orvar, but this is also just a good card in itself.
Yeah, 4 feels high, but like you said, the permanence
Or it's
is
yeah,
yeah.
4 generic and a blue, so it's 5.
It's
But
also
honestly,
just rebound, so it's like you kind of virtual 2 mana for 2 spells, kind of break it out that way. But I mean, the 4 generic up front is a
yeah.
lot to chew.
And I do also want to say, target a Kodama, win the game.
Or that.
Get
Yeah.
2 Kodamas, do all the things.
So Sakashima Kodama, is that the
Well,
so,
you have what's it called? Silas. Silas Kodama is a deck that people have tried making a couple different times. This makes that deck a lot better.
you said you had
And
one more?
Yep, one more blue spell, and this is a blue spell that I think is honestly going to be a staple and see play in a crap ton of decks. Surge of Brilliance, or as I like to call it, SOB, or son of a, I'm in. So Surge of Brilliance. It's an instant with Paradox, draw a card for every single spell that you've cast from somewhere other than your hand this turn. Um, 2 mana, draw a ton of cards. Also, it has Foretell for 1 in the blue. So, Surge of Brilliance is a broken card because there's a couple different commanders that exile things and let you cast the spells from exile. But the main reason why this card is dumb is because of two different things. One, Past in Flames. Two, Underworld Breach. So we have Brain Freeze as a card that's existed, and it's allowed Underworld Breach to do some dumb things because you can keep filling up your graveyard while also just kind of setting up for pretty cheap
Right.
and storming out of control. This does the exact same thing as Brain Freeze, except for the fact that you keep cards in hand, meaning that any of the mana that you have floating off of Lion's Eye Diamond, you can just use it for the spells in hand before anyone can stop you from doing things in graveyard. In addition to the fact that this is just a generally better card by itself, because you will probably get some draw off of this in a bunch of different decks anyways. So outside of the combo, this is better Brain Freeze. Inside of the combo, it's still probably better Brain Freeze. Brain Freeze is still a much faster setup because you only need to have cast
Storm.
you only
Yeah.
need to have cast a Brain Freeze and the Lion's Eye Diamond to have the setup going. And with this, you need to have cast 6 spells from your graveyard. So this is a harder setup, but it doesn't really matter because after like the second time you do the whole Surge of Brilliance Lion's Eye Diamond thing, you're probably already there.
Hmm.
But yeah, that's this is indeed a very interesting thing. I think that this is probably a new staple.
Do you foretell it?
Uh, Probably never, but I if you have the 2 mana and don't have any
Nothing
interactions,
to
why
do.
not?
Yeah. I guess so. I'm a little iffy on. I feel like Rain Freeze is probably still the go-to for those setups. It's just sort of easy to storm into, and it's like the low cost requirement. It's like 1 blue, right?
Yeah. No,
Uh,
no. 1 in the blue, same cost, exact same cost.
okay, okay.
I will say that in the turns when you do the whole Underworld Breach setup, you are probably casting a lot of cards already.
Right.
Because sometimes it's like intuition into Savine's on turn, but sometimes it's intuition off turn, Savine's on turn. So you cast like Savine's Reclamation, you get Underworld Breach, and then you cast Lion's Eye Diamond from hand, and then you or Lion's Eye Diamond from hand wouldn't count for it, but Savine's, then you get back Underworld Breach, then you can crack Lion's Eye Diamond, recast Lion's Eye Diamond and something else from your graveyard, then cast Surge of Brilliance, draw 4, play out a couple of those cards, then replay Lion's Eye Diamond, crack Lion's Eye Diamond, replay Surge of Brilliance, and that's your 6. So it already gets there off the second time you cast Surge.
I like sorry, Victoria. What's fleshy? That's a good question. I'll show you fleshy really quick and then
No, Patrick, don't whip out your fleshy.
yes. Look at her neck. Ridiculous card. That's fleshy. And in case you want to vote on the poll, because it's closing in 3, 2, 1. Yeah, I say we get fleshy tonight. But that's it for blue. Sadly, I don't. Well,
You're talking about.
I wanted to bring up the Flood of Mars.
Oh yeah, that's one that I forgot about. How did I forget to bring this up? Yeah,
so
let's talk about Flood of Mars.
We could talk about Flood of Mars. I didn't see it because I think I was just caught up in the whole fleshy business. But Flood of Mars is one I wanted to talk about, and obviously I want to pass the ball off to you guys too. It's a Orochimaru. Yeah, it's pretty much a Orochimaru. If you guys don't know, it's a Naruto reference. But the Flood of Mars is the last one I wanted to discuss. And then if there's anything you guys want to tackle from blue, let us know before we move on to black, which we'll get there when we get there. So Flood of Mars for 2 generic double blue, 3/3 body, alien, zombie, horror, island walk. It has a unique mechanic, a unique counter, I should say. Water always wins. Whenever the Flood of Mars attacks, put a flood counter on another target creature or land. If it's a creature, it becomes a copy of the Flood of Mars. If it's a land, it becomes an island in addition to its other types. So flood counters are pretty interesting. There's another stacks piece that's, I think it's 3 generic. I forget the name of it, but it issues flood counters as well, if I'm not mistaken. And then lands become islands. I don't think it can target creatures though.
There's a few cards that do flood counter things, but it's like under, I think, 6.
Right. It's few and far between. So you're not really going to have like a flood specific deck, although that would be kind of sick. But by itself, this card is force CMC do nothing, don't get me wrong. But once it gets going, and it just needs to attack, it doesn't need to land. So the island walk is just icing on the cake if you actually want to get in there and do damage. The thing is, it's creating islands for yourself too. So, but yeah, you can pretty much eliminate creatures.
Yeah, creatures are done. It's This card is the second coming of what's it called? Why am I blanking on the name of it? It's the 4 mana and a blue creature that says when a player casts a spell, you can steal that spell and give them this instead.
Narset's Reversal?
Not Narset's Reversal.
No,
it's a creature.
no.
I can find this really quick.
Is it the one Venser?
No, it's.
You're not talking about return it to hand. You're giving them a spell.
No. Hold up. I will quickly find this. Hold up. Creature. Come on. That'll make it a lot easier. Perplexing Chimera. So it's the second coming of Perplexing Chimera. Flood of Mars is insane because it has Island Walk, so you just attack the one player playing blue and then target anyone else's commander, probably the guy to your left, and then that person will attack the blue player and target the guy to his left's commander, then that person will attack another player and target the guy to his left's commander, and then no one has commanders anymore for the rest of the game. This card is brutal if it can ever attack, because even if you have removal later and you kill your own commander to replay your commander, it's getting turned back. If you kill the Flood of Mars, it doesn't matter because there's like 20 more on board. So you need a board wipe to stop it. And even then, the damage has probably already been done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the creating a clone of this guy is like, it will get out of hand so quickly. Like you said, if it gets one attack off. So it'd be really funny to put your Lightning Greaves on this and just go to town. It'd be so good. And you're like, keep this around. And just watch the world not burn, but flood. But yeah, if there are any blue cards you guys want to talk about, let us know. We're happy to look at them. But on that note, I'll say that blue got probably the lion's share of decent cards from the set. Would you agree, Will?
Yeah, I think blue got the best stuff from the set, which makes sense because every single deck runs blue. Like, every deck from this has blue cards in it.
Right, and then in most CDH decks too. You're saying most of them run blue?
Well, no, I'm saying from the four commander decks that all have blue.
I know. I pulled a copy of Flatline. I'm like, is this playable? Should I play this? Like, nah, it's not really taking dress down slot. Like, what is this? I wish Flatline was like a generic and a blue. 2 generic and a blue feels creatures your opponents control. I guess because it's single-sided, but
it doesn't even turn off abilities. There's the black split second card that turns off abilities and makes them 0-1s. Yeah. That's just infinitely better.
I wish, well, this is the combo for Nanogen conversion, okay? You make everything Yuriko size, and then you use Flatline so that they're punchable and immediately killable. It targets so it's preventable, but I could see that card being very game warping. Yeah, Flood of Mars, 100%. I mean, we could see it being game warping, so that's why we mentioned it. Flatline is pretty decent casual, says Trickster. I can see that. I do agree, though. It is a little annoying. It doesn't, like, remove their powers. It just sets their base power and toughness. Their abilities, I should say, rather. But yeah. It's still like a utility you could functionally use. It just feels weird that it's in the rare slot. I don't know if it's like rare or value, but I don't know.
My good.
Yeah, I'm like, isn't Orcish Bowmasters rare? I feel like that's my benchmark right now. Hold up. No, it's probably
That
it's
is a
mythic.
very unfair benchmark.
But no, but I'm just saying this is Universes Beyond, Lord of the Rings, Tales of Middle Earth, and the rares from this set get this good. Like they just because they're this good. This is a ridiculous card. So I feel like every card should be okay. Could you imagine if every card was as valuable as Orcish Bowmaster?
That'd be insane.
Yes, it would be insane.
All right. Well, moving on. Black has one card, Exterminate. If you have any
Right.
changelings, this card is good. Let's go.
It's just sad because like there are no black cards.
I know. That's Exterminate is the only one I can think of that's
Sorry.
somewhat good.
Right, if there is a black card you guys wanted to discuss, like Doomsday Confluence, let us know. But yeah, black kind of got shafted here. I would say they got the Lion Cub share of the set. I don't know. Is there a counter to Lion share? The House Kittens share of the set?
I think it's like a Mouse's share or something like that.
Oh, is there actually?
I think there is, but it's
okay.
it's some small animal share. I don't know the name of it
Small animal share.
I don't know the term.
It's okay. The fleshy share. Exterminate.
Yes, black. Exterminate is the only relevant one in my opinion. 2 and a black for sorcery with Replicate. Tap an untapped Dalek you control. Destroy target creature. Its controller loses 3 life. There is one deck that will play this, and it is Nagila. Or not Nagila, sorry, Eureka. Why am I mixing up the 2 names? Eureka plays this because Eureka runs all of the 1-cost changelings because they'll usually have evasion and they'll also usually be ninjas. You're probably going to be able to replicate this once or twice in Nagila, so 2 and a black, kill 2 creatures and deal a total of 6 damage is not too bad.
No, I agree. It's not so bad. But moving on.
Yes.
Sorry, Black. I only have one red card that I wanted to bring up. Again, I was sort of avoiding legendaries, but we can cover any legendaries that you feel are worth it. If every rare of Orcish Bowmaster was I see. If every rare was Orcish Bowmaster value, the Shurikai deck would be $1,000. Probably. Well, it's funny because a lot of those blue staples are like tens of dollars anyways, like, 25, 30 up. Really depending on the blue card, and they get way more expensive than that. Like, I need a copy. I sold a copy of Intuition years ago, and I'm like, I should probably hold on to this. For some reason, I did. I don't know what I sold it for, but looking to buy an Intuition right now, not fun. Looking to buy a Tundra, also not fun. But Decaying Time Loop is the red card I wanted to bring up. I think this card's pretty good. It's in the uncommon slot. If only every uncommon was this good. 3 generic and a red. Instant speed. Discard all the cards in your hand, then draw that many cards. Retrace. You guys don't know what retrace is. It's a quirky keyword, but you can discard a land in addition to paying other costs for this spell to cast it from your graveyard. It doesn't go to exile afterwards. It's just right there in your graveyard. And we just had a set that we're actually be discussing briefly, in brief, once the video is approved from Team WotC. We did some combo coverage that is under review right now. But once it's done, we might be discussing some cards from that set. But namely, Rowan Sign of War exist. And she's really good with this card. There are plenty of decks that are going to leverage this extremely well to storm off on turn, but Rowan's one that comes to mind just because this is, virtually 1 red mana on that list if you fetched a shock land, right? So it's very easy to get this being grossly effective. And it's a single-sided wheel, so you don't have to have the same issue of, if you do I know people say it's a valid combo line, but the Underworld Breach into Lion's Eye Diamond into Wheel of Fortune, yes, that's something you can do, but you're providing 21 cards worth of value to your opponents if you don't have anything to stop them from also drawing in that same list, right? So this is like a safer way to do that, although it doesn't pay for itself unless you have some form of cost reduction. But it's another utility that's going to be useful in lists that can leverage it, for sure.
I will also add this is a instant speed way to loop through your hand, which is really good. So, for instance, if you have Necropotence, you can proceed to get like 30 cards in your hand, dump those 30 cards, draw 30 cards, and then if you don't like those 30 cards, dump those 30 cards and see another 30 cards.
So Rowan Beseech the Mirror, Necropotence, end of turn, draw, 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 draw. Mind you, if you didn't lose the life sufficient to use her ability before, Necropotence will get you to where you need to be to make all the cards you're drawing super cheap. So yeah, 100%. Like, this is a great way to decay the time loop off of a Necropotence. Like, that's...
And you don't even need Rowan. I'd say just this in any like Rakdos deck that wants to do weird Necropotence end step shenanigans. This works. And then
it's just somewhat costly, but yeah.
Yeah, and it also sets up your graveyard for instant speed reanimate stuff. So if you want to try doing a Rust deck, then you can do it in something other than Zur, and it can work. Because Rakdos has been getting a bunch of tools to help make Rust a little bit more viable in those colors. Even better with the Decaying Time Loop. Card's gross.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of the situations, like the instant speed, because you can, obviously use this on your opponent's turn and from your graveyard. It is quite good. Obviously, you're narrowing down the amount of draw you'll be getting off of discarding a land, but I could see a couple of lists that could leverage this from the grave very, very well, for sure, and off turn. But that's really the only red card I wanted to bring up. But is there anything you guys, or Will, what did you have in mind for us?
So I had really one that I also wanted to add, because this is just a good card for one specific deck, which is RMS Titanic. And this is 3 in a red for legendary artifact vehicle with flying and trample. When RMS Titanic deals combat damage to a player, sacrifice it and make a treasure for each, or make that many treasure tokens. It is crew 3. The one reason this is good, Magda. It's a tap effect for Magda, and it's also a make 7 treasures that you can search up off of Magda. So you can go down 5, go up 7, and tap Magda without having to attack.
RMS Titanic deals combat damage to a player's sacrifice and creates that many treasures. And you would want to bring this out and use your dwarflings to crew this.
Yep, because at worst, it's just going to be like an up 2, and then it also lets you tap your dwarf, so you can probably go from like 5 to 10 off of this just by tapping a couple extra dwarves.
That's not bad.
Yep, I think it's a good card for specifically Magda.
Right. Would Shorakai use this if he could? It could.
Nah. You don't need it.
Every time I see Crew 3, I'm thinking like Shorakai. we need to get Shorakai on this. It's so weird. I wish the numbers worked evenly. Like, I hate that Shorakai's crew cost is 8 or something awkward, and then your thing's crew for 3. It's like, oh, there's just this one additional crew value that's of no legitimate use. But I guess that's only if you're considering using the pilots that you're generating with Shorakai. So if there's any other red cards you guys want to discuss, please let us know. Again, we're going to be moving on. The pool for red was also a little small, not as small as black's, but you get it.
Speaking of small pools, green.
Yeah, I really tried to fish out something I liked from green, specifically again for CDH. And personally, I didn't see anything I would want to play or at least tell you guys you should consider. But is there anything that you found in green that you like?
The only thing in green that I think could be somewhat interesting is Sisterhood of Karn, and there's probably something that you can do with just making a lot of +1/+1 counters. There might be something there. If it's not there now, it might be there eventually. It's a 2-mana creature that gets really, really big very quickly. That's it.
What do you think she's drinking?
Soup. Hot soup.
It's just what do you think it is, honey?
This is my thermos.
This is my thermos. What do you mean ever-flowing chalice? This is a thermos of soup. Return to the Past in red. Oh, I'm sorry. Did we? I feel like Trickster, you might have brought up something earlier that we just glazed over. But hell, we'll jump back. Return to the Past. Return to the Past. So, for 4 generic double red, enchantment, you're back. You're in my head. All my memories are back. As long as it's your turn, each instant and sorcery card in your graveyard has flashback. Its flashback cost is equal to its mana cost. So, this means, and it's this doesn't go away. As long as it's your turn, each instant sorcery card in your graveyard has flashback. So it's just registering what's in your graveyard on your turn. So it didn't need to be there in advance. So you could put things in your graveyard after this hits the field and they'll gain flashback. 6 CMC feels a little high costed for the effect, but I guess it's not altogether too different from something like a Past in Flame, right? Past in Flame is what, 5 to do the thing?
4, I believe.
Okay, let me just look.
5 to do it from the graveyard, I believe.
Let me just check. This is the nearest one-to-one I can think of. Right, correct. Flashback from the grave is 4 generic and a red.
I remember that.
And then it's 4 total. So each instant sorcery card in your graveyard gains flashback until end of turn. The flashback cost is equal to its mana cost. So similar effect, except it's a one-time thing. There's no permanence to that. Again, for 2 generic more, you're getting to do this every on your turn. Would it have been really horrible if it opened up to your opponent's turns?
Specifically counter spells. That's the only thing I can think of.
Right.
But like,
right.
It's really not an issue.
It's like Lier, but you can use counter spells. Correct. Yeah. But I kind of like it if you're trying to combo off on your turn. Again, it is just a little high costed for what you're doing here. Because we do have options for this, obviously, but I don't know, man. Like, I don't know if it could be cracked. We don't need another Underworld Breach, okay? So I'm not saying we go that hard here. It is 6 CMC though. Like, it's really pushing the boundaries for generic. I almost feel like it could have been usable off turn, and that would have been fair.
Let me just say, why play this when you can play Urbresk?
Urabrask, the new Urabrask 4 CMC.
Yeah, the flip one.
Yeah.
It flips into functionally this, but better. In addition to the fact that it's a Burgie on the front side, it's a damage effect as well, and it can make you treasures. Like, this is just worse Urbresk.
Urabrask is more subject to more removal, I'll say, just because, I think people...
Just because he's better?
Right. Well, I mean, people tend to run more removal for creatures because, again, we're saving our counter spells for real problems. But I don't know, is Stern Scolding something you see in CDH lists these days? Like, I feel like the prices are kind of making me think people are running it in Commander decks, but
I haven't seen it. I've seen it once, and that has been it.
Because I feel like Spell Snare would take that same spot and be happy. Like, you would use Spell Snare for the Docksides and the Thassa's instead, and like that's better. But you also hit other things that are probably more important. Sorry, I went off on a tangent. That's the only one I think that I saw from the audience that wanted to talk. The Saga one. Yes.
Oh, that's the what's it called?
This one? The Parting of Ways.
Not the Parting of Ways. I think it's the Flux.
The Flux.
So it's 4 mana. 1, deal 4 damage to target creature and opponent controls. 2, exile the top card of your library you may play this turn. 3, exile the top card of the... 4, exile the top card. 5, exile the top card. 6, make 6 red.
Yeah.
It's a slow draw effect. A bit too slow for me.
Consistent, at least. I can agree with that. When it ETBs, you kill 4 damage to target creature and opponent controls. I almost wish that first effect was like a wipe. Like, I would pay 4 for this to ETB and do 3 damage to each creature, like including your own.
That would be way too good, though.
I mean, it would...
Wrath of God.
It would make me want to play it. It would make me want to play it. Because what's the Anger of the Gods? Or you said Wrath of God? Anger of the Gods is like uncounterable. A generic and double red, and then 3 damage to each creature, something like that.
Yeah, Anger of the Gods is deal 3 to each creature. If they die, they're exiled.
Right.
Yeah. Also, that's what I was thinking. So, Anger of the Gods is that.
Right. No, I don't know. I think 4 is balanced for the effect. Like, obviously, these are coming from. Okay, I just want to state that these cards were designed from the perspective of like a commander player. Like these were meant for these precons and the collector's boosters as well. So I am gonna grade them in that sense. I feel like maybe this would be very good in like someone's cube, but I don't really see it being hyper playable in a commander setting, sadly. And again, it is kind of the cost. Like, the barrier of entry is just a little steep. Would you just run Urabrask, Will? Is that what you're gonna say?
Yes.
Okay. I was referring to Urabrosk with the Saga comments. Sorry. Oh, that's okay. Gotcha. All right. I think we're moving on to green. And I'm sorry. Did we cover any green cards? We covered one, just the girl with the
Y-
chalice.
Yeah,
Right. That's
just
it.
the soup lady.
That's the soup lady. any other green cards you guys want to discuss before we move on to multicolor artifact land? There's only so many more. But we did want to discuss some partner pairings on the stream. I don't know how long this one's going.
I
Hang
I
out.
can run through all of them very quickly because
Okay.
they're very straightforward on why you would want to play each of them.
But even still, hang out, grab a drink, leave a like, share this with your neighbor. But let's talk about multicolored spells. I don't really, again, I was avoiding legendaries, so I don't really have any multicolored spells that I want to discuss. A lot of the legendary creatures are come by way of multicolor here. But yeah, are there any that you want to lay out for us here, Will? I don't think I saw Idris. Did I see Idris?
For multicolor
Yeah.
or
Multicolor.
well, I know that you said you wanted to avoid legendaries.
No,
and
we can talk about them now. I mean, we can talk about the ones that are not to be companioned with.
yeah, just the generic legendaries.
Yeah.
So I will say, here is my freaking gripe list. Here's my anger and hatred for so many of the multicolored legendaries from this set because
Okay.
there are so many that were so close to being good and then they got so bad so quickly. So to start off, the Beast Deathless Prince, 2 black red. Whenever you cast this spell, hijack a creature. The beast enters tapped with 6 stun counters on it, and whenever a creature deals combat damage to its owner, untap the beast. Untap the beast and draw a card. The reason why this is so crappy to me is it says combat damage. I would have loved it if the beast did not say combat damage on that last part, because then you can make a deck that's self-damaging creatures. Yeah, you can make a deck that's self-damaging creatures, and the beast would be insane because you would be drawing so many cards, and he'd basically be a Necropods at the command zone. I am so annoyed that the beast does combat or says combat damage.
I'm annoyed too because I pulled a really cool copy and I'm like, oh man, I wish this was playable because I would totally play it. And it's like one of the cooler cards I pulled from my stuff. Again, like I said, I got 2 of these 8th Doctors. Will, if you need one, let me know. I'll send you one of these.
Yeah, we could do the trade back and forth at some point.
Yeah, but yeah, the beast upsetting. Continue.
Yeah. Uh, Follow up, the Cyber Controller. So this is X blue blue black for legendary artifact creature Cybermen. When this enters the battlefield, each opponent mills X. Put all creatures milled this way onto the battlefield under your control, face down as an army of 2/2 Cybermen. Other artifact creatures you control get +1/+1. This is an infinite mana outlet. That's pretty cool. I would have rather this been a just a generic creature with some kind of buff of, or like generally good draw effect or something, and then have it pay to make opponents mill, and then you can just play this early to grind value and then use infinite mana to mill later. And
Yeah.
then my personal opinion, it's like a Blue Sun Zenith win con in the command zone. I wish it could do more. It's still pretty cool, and I think it's well versed for casual. This is the one that I complain the least about, in my opinion. Like, I'm fine with the cyber controller as it is.
Yeah.
Continuing with my gripe fest. uh, so Kate Stewart, I misread Kate the first time, and I thought Kate was much better than she was, because Kate says 1 blue red white legendary creature human scientist. Whenever one or more time counters are put on a permanent you control, create a 1/1 white soldier creature token. When Kate attacks, you can pay 8, and then attacking creatures you control get +X/+X, where X is the number of time counters among permanents you control. I thought this said counters on the first line. And I was like, this is insane because you can use Metallic Mimic, name Soldier, and then make infinite soldiers.
Right.
That would have been insane. And I'm sad because it doesn't actually say that.
You could just errata it with like a Sharpie.
I know.
Just cross that out. The word time there.
I know. Well, next, the Master Mesmerist, or Mesmerist, however you would like to pronounce that word. But 2 blue black, legendary creature, Time Lord Rogue. Tap target creature an opponent controls with power less than or equal to the Master. Gains Skulk and is goaded until the end of the turn. And then, whenever a creature with Skulk deals combat damage to one of your opponents, put a +1/+1 counter on the Master and draw a card. There are so few Skulk creatures. I was shocked to find that out. The Master could be insane later, but there's not enough good Skulk things to make the Master work right now. Next, the Master Manipulated. Or, sorry, the Master Multiplied. Ugh. The Master Multiplied. Honestly, I'm not even going to read this card because I love everything on the text box. I hate it 6 mana. That's it. That is my only complaint for that one. And
Myriad,
I think
6 mana 4/3 body. You don't think a Myriad 4/3 is worth it?
I would have preferred if they made it like a 4 mana 3/2 or like a 4 mana 2/2 or something. That
Okay.
would have been great. Because the thing is, like this attacks the first time you get 2 masters, then next turn those 3 attack and you get 6 more masters, and on your next turn those 10 attack and you get like 30 or you get a 20 more masters. So it gets very insane very quickly. And also all of your twin flame copies stick around for forever. All of your other effects like that stick around for forever. So the master is really cool.
Yeah, but I mean, they're in the ritual colors, Will.
I don't
They
care.
they they realize this is too easy. I think he could have gone with like some ward or like something to make it difficult to remove him. He is kind of high costed for what's going on here. If he was 4 CMC, I think it would be worth it. Chi Generic and Rakdos would have been great.
Yeah, I would
Um,
have loved that. Um, and next is a card that I wish was so much better. River Song.
uh,
River Song almost works in like 5 different ways, but doesn't. So, one a blue, one a blue and a red for a legendary creature, Time Lord human, rogue. Uh, Meet in reverse. Draw cards from the bottom of your library rather than the top. And also, spoilers. Whenever an opponent scries, surveils, or searches their library, put a +1/+1 counter on River Song, and then River Song deals damage equal to her power to that player. There is no way to force your opponents to scry or surveil, and the ways to make your opponent search is very minimal. So that last effect feels awful. Secondly, the meeting reverse seems like a very cool mechanic. My issue is that other than stuff like brain freeze, or sorry, not brain freeze, brainstorm, there isn't really anything great that you can do with it. Time Stream Navigator is the only one that is semi decent
hmm.
because that's just an infinite combo because you draw Time Stream Navigator from the bottom every turn and then you can just keep resetting. But it's just not good enough. The other interesting thing is you can mulligan cards to the bottom and draw them again later with River Song.
Yeah,
So in theory, you could make a 4 horseman deck, but
unless
it's
you
a four
fetched.
horseman deck.
Yeah, yeah. River Song's okay. To answer the question on the Flood card, the Flood of Mars, what's stopping your opponents from just hazing you together with theirs, Trickster? Because player removal doesn't really work in the sense. Like, if the Flood's begun and you just hate that person out, you're all just doing that in spite of that player. Because at that point, you all effectively are the Flood player. So
Yeah,
you're
and
not really going to single that person out unless you're dicks.
yeah, it's basically
Sorry.
who's the biggest threat is the question at that
Right.
point. And
Just
in
focus
the end,
them. Yeah.
it's usually the guy who's drawing a bunch of cards, but
Mm-hmm.
also combat damage is probably not going to close the game fast enough in a lot of
No.
cases. So, eh.
Right. I wish it could be your commander. Then maybe.
Oh my gosh, if Flood of Mars could be your commander, that'd be gross. Just consistently screw everyone over starting turn 2.
Right. I mean, it's kind of cool, and like you can flood. You can do this to your own creatures technically. So you can go color fixing with this, or you could give your creature the same effect and be able to do this multiple times on a turn. Not the same turn you do it, but it's pretty solid. I like the card a lot. But yeah, were there any cards you liked, Will, from
I would
multicolor?
say my favorite card from multicolor is Missy, and Missy's in the face commander section, so you have to scroll all the way up.
Oh, pish posh,
So
tosh.
the reason I like Missy and we had a conversation about this on the previous FNM, but I do want to. Holy crap, dust is hitting me hard. Um, Sorry
Just
about that.
you're all right.
This was brought up during the FNM because Eudora, is that the name of the commander? The green one? Yeah, I think it's Eudora. So Eudora is a commander that lets you keep flipping your creatures face down as forests whenever they die. Missy does the exact same thing, and it was brought up that we don't know if Missy's going to have the same rules text saying that you can morph things face up. The
Mm-hmm.
thing is, that morph text is for everything when you get a card face down. Like if you manifest a card, you can still morph it face up, even though that you flip it as a creature instead. Nice.
Just want to
So
show the other framing.
yeah. So Missy will
This one
always
better.
like
Oh, I like this one better. I'm just saying, I just like
super
this art
similar to the
better.
new
No,
framing.
this the like the TARDIS box printing just looks better.
Yeah, just casualty.
Casualties.
Yeah. Um, and so the thing is, Missy can combo with morph cards very easily, and also Missy is just a value commander because you do draw like up to 3 cards every turn, or you just burn the crap out of your opponents with an army of Cybermen because your opponents take damage equal to the number of Cybermen you control. So
Did you mention it's Grixis?
yes,
Okay.
Missy is Grixis. So
Yeah.
you can Thoracle.
Yeah. There's that too. But no, I agree. I think this is probably one of the better legendaries from the set. It's kind of unrestricted. It is costly, mind you. You'll notice a theme here. But it's at least solid. Like, I think this one's solidly playable. I'm seeing people play that Sauron from Lord of the Rings, speaking of like costly legendaries, and he's good. The crazy one, like
Yeah. The do a little bit of everything one.
the do a little bit of everything ones, just to showcase when I'm talking about this one, the Dark Lord. There's a couple of Saurons, but yeah, this is the one that's nasty. Kind of like this one. Actually, God. Anyway, sorry. Universes Beyond. I'm just thinking Universes Beyond. All right. Were there any other, I guess, legendaries that are potentially playable? I mean, I kind of liked. I wish he was less expensive, man. I really like Rassilon, the War President, personally. I think there's just another good value Dimir commander, but again, at 5 CMC, it's just too much. So at the beginning of your upkeep, you lose 2 life, exile, and exile the top card of your library. You may play that card as long as it remains exiled. And then each non-creature spell you cast from exile has Conspire, which is one of my favorite effects, right? It's like if you guys have watched this channel for a while, you know I'm a fan of Ward the Raid Mother. So anytime I see Conspire on a card, I'm interested. But just like Ward, it's just a little overcosted. You're in a better part of the color pie, mind you. So Dimir versus Scroll, I should say. But yeah, I think that it's just an interesting value commander. If you're building for like a general token strategy, like I would run effects that consequently made you tokens that were of color, ideally, because you need to do that for Conspire to work. Then, maybe this is kind of a cool way to grind through your list and play out a win, because any sort of like a two demonic tutors should win you the game, right? 2 demonic tutors should get you Thassa's Oracle demonic console. It should help you win the game. Or if you have one of those 2 things in your hand, then you just, get a counter spell. So like there's value here. It's very workaround. But I like Rassilon a lot.
Yep. All right, so we can probably move along to
Yeah.
colorless, and we can throw lands in there as well because there's not a lot to talk about for lands.
Well, the land you want to bring up is colorless, so.
Indeed.
But yeah, Victoria, you're on that Sauron. How's it playing for you? I'm really curious to hear. I like that Sauron a lot. Like I've played against that Sauron, and I think it's actually quite good. I want to play against the Saruman of many colors. I think that one's pretty sick too. 5 CMC too expensive. Tivit exists. Yeah. But like Tivit is ramping and potentially drawing. Like I think Tivit is also like a do nothing on turn, right? But I don't know. I think people like Tivit because it's a 2-card combo in the command zone. I think that's its excuse for existing. I don't think if Tivit just grinded out value, it'd be considered so heavily. Legitimately, like the Ward 3 on it is great. Or is it Ward 3 or 2? It's 3. I don't know. You might have a point there. Maybe I should play it. Maybe I should make it. But yeah, if it had a 2 card combo, like of course Rassilon would be amazing. But yeah, what colorless spells did you want to talk about? I'm kind of iffy on all of these.
I have pretty much two to talk about. The first one is Confession Dial, and this is more of an interesting card. So Confession Dial is 3 mana for an artifact, ETB, Surveil 3, and then tap, target legendary creature you control, or target legendary creature in your graveyard gains escape until the end of the turn. The escape cost is its cost, plus exile 3 cards. Yeah, I have like, I think 2 copies of it as well.
But did you get one of these?
Yes, I did.
Shut up, Will. Just kidding. No, that's good. Good for you. Good for
Yeah.
you.
Oh, good for you.
I
Um,
so tell me which list you want Confession Dial, and let me tell you you're wrong.
all right. So
I'm just
weirdly
kidding.
enough, I do like the ETB part of Confession Dial a lot more than most other things because you can use that to kind of bounce and use that as a loop to mill through your deck,
Do
and
you
then you
wish
can.
it said target player Surveils 3 for your River Song deck?
I do, but they need more things that because I was honestly surprised that Izzet does not have a thing that says at the beginning of each player's upkeep they scry one and draw a card. Like
Right.
I thought there would be a group hug thing that says scry. There isn't. There's a mirror. There's a mirror that says ETB. Each player may scry.
Oh,
Like each
so
player may
close.
scry one.
So close.
Hate it.
But yeah, Confession
Um,
Dial. What's the 1-2 punch here?
well, it's not really as much of a combo. It's just that you can use this to mill your entire deck if you keep looping through it and resetting it, and then you can also get every legendary back from your graveyard if you keep looping it and resetting it. So it's an interesting card. I think it has a bit of utility, but not anything that makes me immediately want to play it. But it's something
Mhm.
that I think is worth noting.
If it was 2 Sims, yeah, I'd play it.
Agreed.
I would even take
Um,
if it was 2 for 2 Surveil.
yeah,
Same effect. But yeah.
and the other artifact is probably the only one that you'd potentially want to bring up, which is River Song's
That
Diary.
you just happen to pull 3 of.
Not three. I pulled I think one.
Right, no. I mean, there's only so many rares from the set to pull. Luckily, it was River Song's Diary, because this one's kind of playable.
Yeah. So River Song's Diary, it's an artifact with imprint. Whenever a player casts an instant or sorcery spell from their hand, exile it instead of putting it into a graveyard as it resolves. At the beginning of your upkeep, if there are 4 or more exiled cards with River Song's Diary, or cards exiled with River Song's Diary, choose one of them at random, cast it for free.
So right, take that, Underworld Breach. None of
Yep.
those instants or sorceries are going in graves. So it's almost like Dothi Voidwalker, but random
Yeah, and reusable.
and reusable. So there is that the ninth Doctor lets you get 2 upkeeps, right?
Yes. You could double up the River Song's Diary.
I might want to.
The Ninth Doctor is just not good enough, though.
No. There are ways to get 2 upkeeps, though. There is like a weird artifact, I think, that was printed a while back that gives you an additional upkeep.
There's an aura that also is enchanted player gets 2 upkeeps.
Okay, look, I'm just trying to find a way to break this, people, okay? The random aspect is what kills me. Also, it's 4 or more, so if you ever, like, dip below that line, you're
Yeah,
gonna
it
have to wait
stops.
again.
It just ends there.
Yeah, so I think in one rotation, it's reasonable to assume you might, get to cast something on your upkeep. Although, if I were one of the opposing players, I would wait if my thing was instant speed. You're like, I won't let you get this. And then maybe on your turn, I'll consider. But there's a lot of times where the hit will be something that you just don't need, right? Like a counterspell when no one's doing anything. Fortunately, it's a May. So, you can just let it stay there and just add towards the count of 4. But so close to greatness for River Song's Diary. I feel like it's a really interesting utility. Just the grave hate aspect is good by itself, but again, 3 CMC. Did it need to be 3 CMC? The fact you're paying nothing to do it?
Would you prefer this be 1 CMC with just the imprint effect? Like ignore the whole upkeep thing?
If it was one CMC, the imprint effect, and then pay one, tap this, you can cast one of the spells under this exiled with Riversong's Diary without paying its mana cost. Heck, I'd even take getting to cast it for any color. I feel like I want this card without the random aspect and accessibility for the effect. If it was one CMC, imprint effect the same, tap it, sacrifice this card, sorcery speed, get to cast one of the things, use mana of any color, it would be hyper playable. Because then you're getting this online turn one, you're, screwing over graveyards. Like, and I'm legitimately, like, people do want to reuse their instants and sorceries off of an Underworld Breach, namely their tutors, and the cards remain exiled, right? Until, presumably, you cast it, right? Or you're making a copy? You're casting the card.
You're casting the spell.
Right. So it's not a copy. So they will get the spell back once it's cast. I think if it had that kind of utility, like hyper playable. As it stands, I'm really looking for it to be more like a Dothy Voidwalker that's colorless. And just because, I've mentioned this already. Dothy Voidwalker.
I just think it's good enough. I think 3 mana as it is still pretty good.
Obviously, Dothy Voidwalker, it's a few more things, but
Yep.
Yeah, but I mean, like, Dothy exists, and Dothy's really good.
Yeah,
and is honestly not really that played. So I don't know, man.
But Dothy's also in black. This is in colorless, so it can be played in more decks.
All right, people, I'm gonna leave it to the audience. Do you want to? What are you playing? Will you wear wigs? When will you wear wigs? Will you play Riversong's Diary? And I'm curious to know, like, what decks do you think would want this? Like, which list do you assume, would presumably want to slot this into? Okay. Moving on.
Yep. And we go to lands, and there is one notable land, in my opinion, and it is Ominous Cemetery.
See if I can.
It's a land that taps for generic.
Oh, sorry. I found it.
It's a land that taps for generic, and it has pay 5, tap this, exile this, target creature's owner shuffles it into their library. It's a removal land. I like it for Sasaya. I think it can also potentially be played in other decks that need creature removal, mostly monocolored decks. Like, I think mono white might play this, mono red might play this, mono green will probably play this.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's just good.
They got nothing better to do. Is that what you're saying? I just caught a little tinge of mono green's got nothing better. You're just saying that they've got mana for this.
Well, they have land search, they have mana, they don't have great creature removal, so it's just a thing that they probably like.
Wait, you're shitting all over the fight mechanic right now, Will. You don't like.
Fight means that you need a creature.
That's half the green deck. But yeah, as you don't want to throw the Arbor Elf at something, it's probably a bad idea.
I'm gonna throw my Arbor Elf at your Tivit.
Yeah, this is better. But then again, you also need the mana to target that Tivit, so yeah, there's a couple reasons why Tivit's super playable, but yeah, that's it. So we want to move on to Dr. Pairings for you guys. I guess we can go over like the cool TARDIS showcase ones, or are there more showcase ones at the bottom?
You can go with whatever art you want, because I figured this is gonna be my time to shine, to just go through all of the crap that I've brewed in my head.
Yeah, let's cover some of them. Obviously, let me jump back up. Is there a better way to view these? It doesn't matter. We'll get to them. Okay, go for it.
All right, so I'll just kind of blitz through this. The 8th Doctor is really good as an Azorius commander that ETB makes you mill 3 and lets you play cards from your graveyard. The reason why he's good is because he's a Tidespout Tyrant commander, or Teamer Sabertooth Dockside, whatever bounce effect you want, because you can loot through your deck or mill through your deck and then find a win. You can also go Food Chain if you want. I feel like doing Bant Food Chain feels a bit bad, considering all the green companions are kind of awful. The 11th Doctor, interesting. Nothing terribly noteworthy for the 11th Doctor, at least for CDH. You can set up cards, cast them for free later. Depending on the size of the card, it slows down even more. The 11th Doctor is a bit too slow. The 5th Doctor is pretty cool because, 1, combos off with Adric. 2 buffs your board consistently, and 3 untaps your board in general, meaning that if you want to try to build like a Bant control deck with him, this is actually a relatively good use because you're always going to have your dorks untapped so that you can counter stuff.
Hmm.
And then your dorks are eventually going to become like 8/8s and you just kill somebody. Um, the first Doctor is kind of awkward and not really good enough. The fourth Doctor is kind of awkward and not really good enough. The Fugitive Doctor is one of the non-blue Doctors, meaning that you have an excuse to run the blue companions, and also is a Tidespout outlet because you can make infinite clues. So, fourth Doctor or the Fugitive Doctor is interesting. The ninth Doctor just barely doesn't get there. The second Doctor can do fun stuff, but isn't too noteworthy. The seventh Doctor is horrifying, and I love him. So, for those who don't know, the seventh Doctor is 3 blue, white, for a legendary creature, Time Lord Doctor. Whenever the seventh Doctor attacks, choose a card from your hand. Defending player guesses whether that card is greater than the number of artifacts you control. If they guess wrong, you may cast it without paying its mana cost, and then if you don't cast a spell this way, investigate. Here's the reason why this card is kind of horrifying and why I love it. It does not say you reveal the card ever. That means that if your opponent guesses it wrong, you cast the card and they get to know what the card is. If they guess it right, you don't tell them what the CMC of the card is or any information, meaning that they're slowly getting higher and higher and higher. And when you hit like the number 5 or something, or I guess 6 because it's greater than, if they think the cost is greater than, you basically say, is this Adnaz or not? And then you cast an Adnaz for free. If they ever at any point say that it is less than, you are potentially just casting a PETA for free. So this Doctor, either with Clara Oswald to double up the triggers so that you can get 2 casts for free or 2 clues, is pretty good. But I'd honestly say that Vizlor is potentially the better companion because you can just draw extra cards with Vizlor and you're happy with taking the damage.
Is it the black one?
Yeah, that's the black companion.
Oh,
And then
I'll put up the companions later if we want to look at the
yeah,
companions exclusively for pairs with doctors.
yep. The sixth Doctor is very cool and grindy, best paired with Clara, but not really good enough for CDH. The 10th Doctor is generally just pretty good because you just cast some spells for free and can speed up suspend.
Yeah, yeah.
The third Doctor looks trash, but is actually fantastic because he's a food chain outlet, meaning that you can do Simic plus any third color you want. So you already have food chain in your colors, and
Right,
you
right,
can
right.
do infinite clues, infinite
Probably
food,
go
and infinite
red.
creatures.
Probably go
Yeah,
red, right?
yeah. You can go red, you can go black, depending on if you want tutors or not. You can go white if you want, but yeah, I'd say red or black is probably the way to go.
Hmm. For those
So
sweet, sweet tutors. Yeah, I agree.
third Doctor is very cool. 13th Doctor does the same thing that I was saying with the fifth Doctor, where you just untap all your stuff every turn, so it's really good as a defensive
I had to
commander.
check to see if I had a copy of the third Doctor. Yes, I do.
Yeah.
A
Yeah.
search, a search foil, yes. so,
Yes.
so I can't get over how good these look.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I like the third Doctor a lot. I would say about the Doctors you've listed that it's probably the one I like the most. I mean, Simic is fine. Green is okay. Blue is great. And if you add black, like you were saying, that's again, and this is an outlet specifically because you're making treasure tokens, which is
Yep.
fantastic.
And clues.
Well,
Um,
exactly. Like you get all this stuff and life. You get
yep,
life.
yep.
So
Yeah.
if
Uh,
fuel the took combo.
Indeed.
Proceed.
But with the 13th Doctor, you're always going to have mana up to defend yourself. You can combo off with Adric, and then also you have this is weirdly enough a food chain commander because and a Tidespout Tyrant commander because you can keep casting your Doctor's Companion from the command zone to make all of your creatures infinities.
Right.
So the 13th Doctor is weirdly an outlet for a lot of different things. The 12th Doctor sadly doesn't do a lot. The War Doctor is really cool, specifically with Clara, because Clara doubles Doctor activations and triggers, or just Doctor triggers. So the War Doctor is 2 red, and white for a 3/5 Time Lord Doctor. Whenever one or more other permanents phase out, uh, whenever one or more permanents are put into exile from anywhere, put a time counter on the War Doctor. Whenever the War Doctor attacks, deal damage equal to the number of time counters on the War Doctor to any target. If a creature dealt damage this way would die, exile it.
Pretty gross.
So, if you have Clara, you attack and get 2 attack triggers, which kill 2 things, which triggers the War Doctor twice, which works with Clara to trigger the War Doctor 4 times, meaning that you put 4 counters on the War Doctor for attacking once. You're killing the entire board constantly and eventually just going to nuke people in the face for like 20.
Right. The only
Twice.
issue being that Clara is like 6 CMC, right? In neutral.
Yep.
Right. So
Yep.
you're in Boros, if you can handle that.
I mean, you're in Boros plus whatever color you want because you're playing
True,
Clara.
true, true, true,
So,
true. Whoa, wait. What color do you pick with Clara?
honestly, I probably just go blue because I'd rather
Yeah,
be
you
able to
would.
keep up the
Yeah,
interaction for
you would.
control.
You wouldn't want black for the rituals in the tutors.
Nah, nah, I'll suffer the slow plays.
Okay,
Red
okay.
red has enough rituals for me. And if we want to go through the Doctor's Companions really quick, I can also do the quick run through.
Yeah, there's not a good way to look them up, so I'm just gonna skip around to the
Yeah,
colors.
I just looked. I went to the search engine and did a Oracle
Oh,
text Doctor's
doctors.
Companion.
Yeah, doctor. Let's just do doctor
There's like
companion.
2 other cards that aren't Doctor's Companions that get added, but it's just because they reference Doctor's Companions, but they're not really relevant. So, uh, Ace sadly doesn't feel like she does enough. Adric, I have already said how good Adric is in general. We don't really need to talk about it more. Card is broken.
Use it. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely use it.
Amy is the only reason why the 11th Doctor is potentially good enough to play and is also really good with the 10th Doctor. Um, Barbara sadly doesn't really do enough. Uh, Bill Potts sadly is a bit too weird, doesn't function well enough. Clara works with like half the doctors really, really, really well. Dan Lewis is very funny and very interesting because if you make infinite treasures, he's your outlet.
Yeah.
So have fun doing dockside stuff. Um, Donna Noble is a potential combo commander, but in a very weird way. So I'm not the biggest fan of Donna Noble.
How many kids watching this do you think are like buying sets of Doctor Who are going to see the phone in her hand and wonder what that device is? I guess it's.
Isn't Samsung making a flip phone right now?
Are they? Oh, you
Yeah,
know
I
what?
think so.
Flip phones are making a comeback. What am I talking about? It's so weird.
Yeah,
I haven't really seen anyone use one, but yeah.
yeah. Um, uh, Graham, he's cool, not good enough because weirdly enough, Paradox usually isn't good enough. Ian, sagas aren't cool enough. Jamie, honestly, Jamie's decent as just a general self-buffing commander that can punch kind of hard, but
Does he look
still
a
kind of
little?
awkward.
Does he look
Hmm?
a little like Luke Skywalker?
I suppose a little
Okay,
bit like more like a Scottish Luke Skywalker.
Scottish Skywalker. Okay.
Joe Grant, interesting, but doesn't do enough. Uh, Canine, only bad because it's in blue, and all of the doctors are in blue, so you're missing a color.
Yeah.
um, Leela, specifically insane with the second Doctor, not really great with anything else. Martha, bad because blue. Uh, Funnily enough, is an infinite Tidespout outlet because infinite clues, but you already get infinite clues with the fugitive Doctor, so you don't care. Um,
Yeah.
Nordle, bad because blue, but also potentially good enough by itself because Nordle can make a lot of mana if you have any way to build around +1 counters. Nissa, bad because blue, because you're missing the colors. Nomax Sand Size is cool, being able to sack artifacts to draw is cool, just barely doesn't get there.
Yeah.
Perry Brown, you don't really care about Convoke. Uh, Romana 2. Uh, Combos with the Sixth Doctor in an interesting way. Still not really good enough. Because the Sixth Doctor doesn't really get there as well. Rose Tyler, really good with the 10th Doctor, not really good with any other Doctors. Interesting. Ryan, probably the best partner outside of Adric. It's Ryan and Sarah and Adric are the best, excluding Clara. Clara is also really good. Ryan will attack and then flip until you hit a non-land card, and then you can cast it for free if its cost is less than or equal to Ryan's power. In CDH, that's pretty much anything other than your big bomb things. So Ryan is pretty much going to ramp you through the game. Sarah Jane Smith, 1 and a white. Whenever you cast a historic spell, investigate, trigger only once per turn. Tidespout doesn't care about that. Keep bouncing Sarah and then resetting her. Uh, Susan Foreman, the best green Doctor's Companion. She's a 2 mana dork, and that is it.
Yeah, the top part of her doesn't matter whatsoever. I guess
Yeah,
you could technically say Clara's the best green companion.
yeah. Clara's probably better in some scenarios. It depends on the Doctor, because sometimes
Right.
Clara does nothing with the Doctor.
Yeah, 2 CMC Dork isn't the. She had to be a 1/1 though. I don't
I know.
know. It's,
I
it's
would have preferred a 1 CMC dork. I would have liked an Arbor in the command zone.
Oh, that would be so
Um,
good. Oh, even if she tapped for colorless, you're saying you would have been
yeah,
happy with
even
that?
even colorless, I'd be happy. Well, Tegan, honestly, not bad, but not good enough. Whenever you attack with a historic creature, put a +1/+1 counter on it. Or sorry, whenever you attack target historic creature you control gets a +1/+1 counter on it and is indestructible. Protect your Doctor or protect Tegan. You're good. Not good enough, but it's interesting. It's an interesting utility. Uh, I I have trouble pronouncing this guy's name, but I'll say Weisler again. So
You're close enough, I'm sure.
yeah, Weisler. 3 in the black for a rogue, not a human rogue, not a Time Lord rogue, just a rogue, which is interesting. When Vizlor enters the battlefield, you may have an opponent gain control of it. If you do, it's good for the rest of, or it's good for as long as they control it. At the beginning of your end step, draw a card and lose life equal to the number of cards in your hand. So, you can either hurt your opponents and try to stack them out by burning them while they control this, or you can draw yourself, and as long as you're playing out your hand every turn, you're only losing like 1 life and drawing a card. Not bad. Not terrible because you can actually just draw an extra card every turn or just burn an opponent out. I like
Hmm.
them. And then uh last one is Yasmin Khan and one of the other decent red companions. 4 mana for a creature that can tap to impulse draw every turn. Good card. Good card.
Yeah,
But
I think the general philosophy was like overcosted utilities you would come to expect from given color.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so to sum up the Doctor's companions, Adric is insane. Clara works with a lot of the Doctors really well. Ryan is just the best red. Sarah's the best white. Uh, Vizlor is the only black outside of Clara. Susan is the best green.
Right. Well, the only
And then
playable green.
for blue, Adric is probably the best blue, but you can use any of them depending on what you require.
Yeah, it's a little frustrating that so many of them were blue. So many of the good ones were blue, and particularly annoying with Adric because you would kind of want to throw him in a majority of these, but then a majority of them are blue, so you're not really getting the value out of. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not to say that you should look at your companions or partners solely for their colors, but it is a large component of the rest of your deck, right? That color identity. So it does kind of stink. But I'm sure there are thematic reasons they went for these colors in these pairings. I think Clara is probably generally good. Well, depending on the the
It's
doctor.
uh yeah, the eighth Doctor, 11th Doctor. Clark probably works the fifth Doctor, but eighth, 11th, first, fourth, um, fugitive, and let's see, fugitive,
Yeah, I don't think I got a
kind of the
single
third.
copy of the Fugitive Doctor. Like I do like him a lot, but I don't know. Do you think that a list like that could fare well in a CDH setting? How many of these? I guess that's the last conversation I want to have with this set. How many of these companions with Doctor pairings do you think are going to be seen, if at all, within a CDH setting?
I'd say about a third of the Doctors are viable, depending on the companions that you pair, because it's The eighth doctor for just straightforward ones, because the fifth and the 13th are good with Adric as combo decks. But the fifth is just generally decent by itself and can be paired with Clara to make all of your creatures 2 counters bigger every turn and will just become a horrifying monster.
Yeah.
So you can just kind of control out the game while your board becomes like 30/30s. The 13th Doctor can do a little bit of everything. So the 13th Doctor will see constant play. The third Doctor might see some constant play. The 10th Doctor might see some constant play, even solely due to the fact that people really like him as a person, not even as a magic card.
The
Uh,
10th
the
Doctor,
seventh,
yeah.
the seventh Doctor will be interesting, but I don't think we'll see pretty much any play. And then I already said the eighth Doctor is good, so it's pretty much fifth we'll see niche play, and seventh we'll see niche play. But then outside of that, eighth, 10th, third, 13th, or third and 13th will probably see play. So there are 4 doctors that I think will actually see some play.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I'm happy with these sets as a whole. You know, not every single set that releases is going to provide us with anything that could be considered a staple, but I'd say that there are a handful of cards from this Doctor Who set that are definitely going to be more than playable. Namely, a lot of blue ones, and specifically Nanogen Conversion. Again, do expect to see a video come out discussing potential decks for that. Let me know if you guys would be interested in any deck techs that focus solely on that card. I know we haven't really done pre-recorded deck techs on this channel for a while, but that might be something we can cover for cards that are notable and strategies that might be made available for them. But I think general coverage, just to pique your interest and give you guys ideas, is sort of what we've been going for. Maybe not the best evergreen, but hopefully it helps. But yeah, let us know what your favorite Doctor Companion pairings are. Will has studied this set very extensively, and I definitely trust his opinion on a lot of these pairings. I didn't even think of the Fugitive Doctor with Clara, so that's why I was like, I need to know if can I do this? Can I do this in paper?
The Fugitive Doctor is horrible with Clara because it's like, ah, yes, you can.
Oh, I'm sorry, the War Doctor. The War Doctor.
Yeah, War Doctor with Clara is hilarious.
Right. I was like, the War Doctor is honestly really sick. Like, I like it's a little different than the typical Boros strategy in that you have like this sort of kill spell in the command zone, which I really like.
Yeah.
Attack, steal, summon energy. Yeah, so cool. But yeah, let us know what your favorite Doctor Companion pairings are. If you're going to be purchasing any of these cards, you can do so through the link in the description. However, you don't have to. You don't have to. It's entirely up to you. More importantly, what I'll encourage you to do is to like and share this video if you stuck with us this whole time. If you find this content enjoyable and or educational, then I'll highly encourage you to do that, because it does go a long way in helping support this channel. But thanks guys for spending time with us. Any closing thoughts, Will?
Uh, apparently I'm going to be building a Sarah with the 10th Doctor in the very near future, so look forward to that. I might be playing on FNM in like a couple weeks.
Do you think you have the cards for Sarah? Or Sarah in the 10th Doctor?
Yeah, I have actually, hold on, give me a second.
Whenever you cast a historic spell, investigate this ability.
I have my Doctor stuff, or my Who stuff over here. Um, so I'm pretty sure I have an alternate art of both Sarah and the 10th Doctor, funnily enough.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
So you just make the prettiest version of the deck.
Foil alternate art of the 10th Doctor.
Ooh.
And then hold on, that wasn't showing in the light very well. There you go.
The Sarah seems hard to pull. Like, I didn't get a single copy.
You mean this Sarah?
That Sarah. And that's the art, in my opinion. I really like that Sarah art a lot. Let me see so you guys can see it.
I also want to see. I don't actually think I pulled a copy of Ryan, which I'm kind of disappointed about, because he's one of my favorite favorite companions. Because he worked well with just a lot of different things.
I can't help you, Will. I didn't pull Ryan either.
He just doesn't exist.
No, he doesn't exist.
River Song's Diary. I got one.
Oh, look at you. And extended, people. But yeah, I'm excited to. We can close this one out now, but we can just hang out and chat for a bit. I'm excited to talk about Ixalan. Do you have any, like, I don't know, what is your biggest hope for Ixalan? More Ryle effects. What do you?
I don't really know. Like Ixalan didn't say a lot to me when I played it initially, but maybe it'll be maybe it'll be more to my taste this time around. I want to see what those maps do.
Right, yeah, we're stuck wondering, but there's no. You make a map token with what was it? He just came out in Eldraine. What's his name? Oh wow, I just got a big thumbs up button on. I don't know why that happened, but thank you, whomever liked the screen in that way. Did you see that?
I did. I saw the little pop up.
There's a giant like bubble on the screen. No idea where the hell that came from. Let me know if you left that like bubble. I would love more. I consume them. I live off of them. But yeah, we're gonna be talking Ixalan really soon here on the channel, and I'm excited to cover. I'm excited to cover that set. Ixalan I has is near and dear to me, even though I don't think any of the cards from that initial set are really staples, or at least there's nothing I can think of that I'm still currently running. It was just fun to play. But yeah, if you guys have any closing thoughts, let me know, and we can just answer a few of them before we shove off here. I'm kind of waiting to see someone somewhere build decks just on Daleks, Weeping Angels, Cybermen, etc., etc. Yeah, I wonder. So there is like a really cool Dalek. I don't know if it's like a really good commander list. No, no. It's like it's for CMC. It like multiplies. It makes more. It makes more Daleks.
Davros.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, Davros is the guy that says when you at the end step you make a Dalek for every opponent who took 3 or more damage and then draw a card or something.
Yes.
Yeah, you create a 3/3 Dalek with menace if an opponent lost 3 or more life, and then each opponent who lost 3 or more life this turn faces a devious choice of either you draw or they discard.
This is just really good value. This is really good value. Like, I like this legendary a lot. I think it's kind of cool. It's also an artifact which could open up the doors for certain things, like initiating combos, depending on what
You
you're
can make
playing.
that Bolus a Citadel. You can transmute him into Bolus.
That's so true. Yeah, this Davros I feel like might be playable, but that could be your Dalek deck. You know what I mean? I mean, it's not really running or operating any Daleks in the main build. I suppose you could, but it itself is a 3/4 menace, so you're probably going to get that first Dalek, right? Because you've done 3 damage with him.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. Did you like Davros enough? Yeah.
I think Davros is cool. Not it doesn't really speak to me. I think that he could be a CDH commander just due to the fact that you're either burning someone's hand or filling your own. So,
Gotcha.
and you're making a pretty decent sized board with Menace. So, I think Davros is potentially good enough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I appreciate it, Victoria. I have zero interest in this set, but I would hang out and watch if you were doing underwater basket weaving. I wish I could do that. I just play board and card games, and I like to think I play them pretty okay. So that's why I'm here, just share my love and some knowledge. I'm very excited to start discussing sorcery with you guys. I know this is a Magic stream, but need to find ways to like get you guys that coverage because it's such a good game. But you cannot play that game remotely with a shared board. It's interesting. Like, are you in the least excited for the stuff that's coming out for Ixalan for Jurassic World? I don't know if those are exclusive cards or they're universes beyond versions of universes within versions of the. It's not even universes within, just cards from Ixalan. Like, I don't know what's happening there. I'm so detached from that. The Jurassic Park stuff. Like, is any of that exciting you, Will? I don't know if you're a fan of the franchise or not.
I'm not the biggest fan of that franchise. Like, don't hate that franchise, but it's like, okay, it exists.
I know PubStomp MTG is excited for it. I mean, a dinosaur
Yeah.
is indeed on their logo, so we'll be discussing. I can't show you. We have Ixalan stuff. I need to get it over to Will, but we're also going to be covering Ixalan really soon, and we're going to be playing Ixalan. There's a couple of commanders coming out that we'll be touching on. Excited for those. Well, let's go. Getting as much
Telling
beta
me
as I
I'm
can.
finally about to know what the map tokens do before everybody else.
I mean, we could just do we crack packs now. If we get 100 concurrent viewers, I will crack packs illegally, way before the embargo lifts.
Yeah,
No, I
we're
would.
totally gonna get there with the 11 viewers we have right now.
I mean, if we just showed a pack, if we just switch the thumbnail really quick and switch the title really quick. No, yeah, getting as much beta as you can. I have 2 boxes of beta coming. That's as much as I can reasonably spend with a wedding coming up. So, I want to get more, but yeah, it's the game is a little expensive. Will, I'm gonna drag you into sorcery.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna play sorcery at some point just to at least try it out.
It's so fun. It's super super fun. But yeah, I would definitely encourage it. But guys, we'll see you in the next one. Yeah, I'm just over here looking at Ixalan stuff, and it is Kellen. Kellen is the one
Killing it.
who makes the map tokens. People are thinking
kill
it's.
him. Kill him.
I don't know. It's Selesnya though. How good is Selesnya?
I mean, dude, functional. Depends on how good the map tokens are. I mean, if it's draw, that's pretty good.
I have 6 accounts in the house chat. How many can you guys pitch in?
For the 100 views.
Oh, well, I don't know. I can't even show you the box. It's right behind me. I'm sorry. I can't. Maybe it's worth it. Probably not. For 100 views? How many views did that one guy get for getting like the what he got? You know what I'm talking about, like the MTG Daddy. There's like a small creator account on here, but he did an unboxing of that one set that came out earlier this year. Why can't I remember? It has the sword
Okay.
icon. No, no.
Oh. Oh,
Aftermath. War
yeah.
something Aftermath.
Yeah. It's
Yeah. Do you remember those like series of videos blew up?
yeah, they did very well, yeah.
I don't know, Will. I do know. Aftermath. Yeah. It would never happen. I'm more interested in like a healthy relationship with Wizards of the Coast than I am like, spoiling stuff.
Yeah.
But
Temporary benefit.
isn't Wizards owned by Hasbro though? Should I reach out to do like we can discuss Yahtzee here on the channel? What does Hasbro own? Wait, Hasbro games. What fun board games does Hasbro have? I mean, I guess Magic the Gathering's the best one, right? Jenga is under the umbrella. Sorry, I've never played Sorry. Life? People always tell me they love this game, and I always sit down and play Life, and it's just not enjoyable.
Yeah. Agreed. Life is like Monopoly.
Oh my god. Yeah, Monopoly is fun. I feel like it's just very long-winded though. Like those games last forever.
Yeah, like honestly, if people did what they do for chess, where it's like they make a move then like walk away, but for Monopoly, that would be a bit more interesting. Like
Mhm.
Monopoly on, oh, what was it? You know the phone apps where you can like text different moves and stuff to each other through the phone. Like what is it?
Yeah,
It's
yeah, yeah.
like the Pigeon game software or whatever that was that people used for like a year or not like a year like 8 years ago or something like that. Like they had the pool game, they had chess, they had all that. Um, if they had that for Monopoly, that would be way more interesting. Where it's just you're playing Monopoly through text with all of your friends. That would work.
Have you heard of Hero Quest?
Vaguely.
Okay. It's just we don't need to look at this, but we can. It's $130, 130 something dollars for this. Like I'm assuming it's like a Dungeons and Dragons kind of thing, which I've never heard of this. But it's the aesthetic is appealing to me. Sorry, I'm just looking at Hasbro products. I don't know why. I am in communication with no one from Hasbro, but maybe we can have a Rock'em Sock'em Robots night. How great would that be? Flywheel out. That would be really interesting to have like a prize match of Rock'em Sock'em Robots like at Madison Square Garden. It's just 2 guys like trying to knock out the other robot. I would freaking love
It
that.
was. I love Rock'em Sock'em Robots only because there was a one time in my high school where we had a group of people surround 2 guys going, fight, 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 and the teachers got to the center of the thing to break up the fight, and they were just 2 guys playing Rock'em Sock'em Robots in the middle
Oh
of the
my
entire crowd of
god.
people.
That's amazing. It's funny because this game hasn't really changed much. I'm looking at the current toy and it's like still just two janky looking robots punching each other in the middle of a ring. Any rate, sorry, we like to linger at the end of these, but I'll cut off now. I'll look for my wave, and we'll see you later. Yeah, sorcery is gonna be good though. You'll definitely need to check out sorcery when you can get your hands on it. I would start looking into like what stores you can actually